This house. Oh.
Hello. Hello.
Hey.
Okay.
They're so yummy. They're so good.
Okay. Sorry, let me yeah. No, stop. I'm just Hey Demeter, how's it going?
Pretty good. How about you?
I'm good. Did you enjoy getting an extra hour of sleep last night?
I did. I took full advantage of it. Full advantage of it.
Good. I'm glad. I love those earrings. Did you make those?
I did make these. Yeah, it was, I think, a washcloth pattern, and I just used it and made it with thread.
That's awesome. You know what? I have not commented, but like every evening you've been wearing such beautiful earrings. Clearly, like you've been making them, right? It's like they're yours.
They're my earrings that like I said, sometimes I use patterns that were meant to be washcloths or dollies or, just a granny square pattern that I just flip into an earring. Simple. It's just about the hook size, right? The hook size and the yarn you use, and that's it. So that's what I've been doing.
That's amazing.
I love it.
So
I'm not in the way at all. I'm just
okay. Well, speaking of creative crochet and lots of other modalities as well. Hey, Erin.
Hello.
Hi, Erin.
So Erin is our first guest today, and I'm so excited. Erin was like one of the very last vendors that we signed on.
I'm amazed you guys sent me on. I didn't think I was still eligible. So I'm quite happy for this chance.
Yay. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I loved it because it's funny being a show organizer. I mean, I've been a vendor in different shows, but it's just been local here. I haven't actually attended a lot of festivals as an adult. When I was a kid growing up, I went to Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival a few times. But of course, being a typical kid, I didn't realize how cool it actually was. I was like, geez, here we are going to this stupid sheep thing. Yes.
Well, my opinion on art was Mom had the coolest toys, so I must steal them and use them. And that just set the standard. And I've only further developed that.
That's awesome.
So as I've been
You will
like
verify it.
She still steals all my art materials and everything else.
I'm not special like my great aunt or grandmother. She gives them the art materials. I have to steal mine.
Oh my.
Well, when Erin and I were talking, because we just had a phone call to just like pull it all together so Erin will get a really good idea, catch up on everything. And I was telling her, like, I haven't been to a lot of things like Edmonton Fiber Frolic. I'm just kind of making it up as I go. And Erin was like, oh no, this is like Comic-Con, but for crafters. And I was like, yeah, probably.
Oh,
What?
awesome.
You guys have workshops, speakers, markets. The only thing you're missing is the cosplay contest, which I guess could be a sharing contest or something. What do you not have that you have the equivalent of as a cost of a Comic-Con?
I love that. I love that. That's super cool. That's super cool. Oh, yay.
Oh, yeah, I thought it was kind of a fun description. So, because yeah, I was like, when we have to answer questions to insurance and all that stuff, they're like, well, what is it? I'm like, well, it's not really a trade show. It's not really a craft fair. Like, I don't know. It's just a really fun, it's a festival, really.
Mhm.
So
It's
anyway,
a convention
yeah.
for the fiber arts.
I love it.
Yeah.
My
So,
mom just
anyway,
suggested call it the Articon.
So I'm really, really glad to have Erin here. Erin is an artist in her own right. Erin makes finished crochet and sewn products. And so yeah, Davida, I think y'all can really talk shop together because Erin makes all one-of-a-kind things and uses her creativity like crazy.
Unfortunately, I have a short attention span, so I don't create duplicates. Everything is unique in its own way. Admittedly, it might just be unique in a way I can tell. But if you ask, I can tell how it's unique and different from this seemingly identical one. So for this, is there anything I should cover or talk about?
Oh, you just go right ahead. You take it away. This is your trunk show. You take the floor. I'm going to mute myself and you just let me know if there's anything I need to jump in and say or any links that need to be shared in the chat.
Okay. So much for structure. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm basically treating this as I'm back in kindergarten. I have cool stuff to show and I'm going to talk about it. That's the only way I can think of. Which is just a fun perspective, I think.
Okay, are you starting?
I don't know. When are we starting?
Right now, go for it. We're on YouTube.
Do it, girl. Do it. Introduce yourself to the audience. Let them know what you're going to share with us today and just sell it through. Make them excited to come and see you at the Fiber Frolic.
Hello, I'm Erin of Chaotic Nights. I do crochet work and I also sew stuffed animals. This is unique in that I just find something that inspires me and develop it. So I might find a picture that I like and go, can I create that in crochet? Or I might come up with a concept and see how I can physically bring that to life as a sewn object or as a crocheted project. For example, I have a Grinch. Well, I also have a slight joke of my mom back here has a theme song, "You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch," and we found a lot of Grinch fabrics, so we made a Grinch. So he's a pterodactyl Grinch. And he's absolutely huge, and his hat currently is not on properly. So please do not steal his hat. He'll get grumpy, and nobody wants a grumpy Grinch. But that's just an example of, like, there's no limits of what you can do with this and
An idea.
And again, this was literally, I had fabric of Mr. Grinch himself, of his movie, and of the joke theme song for my lovely mother. So I decided to do the obvious thing and make him himself, not use any of my already created materials. Quite proud of myself for that. And he looks accurate, and it's really, really cool because fabric, different textures, different looks, all to create this unique experience. So like the red is corduroy, so it actually has stripes, And then I created all of his fuzzy fluff. His green on this head is actually ever so slightly fuzzy. And, well, his nose is just a nose. Nothing special. It was just a green nose. But that's just a way we can take a concept.
Special. Nothing special. That's super special.
No. The nose is the most bland thing about the entire thing. That's why it's nothing special. I mean, look at the eyes. They're adorable. And they look like they're going to steal your Christmas. How does the nose compare to that? How? But that's just an example of I had a concept and I had an idea and went, how can I recreate that? And I just made it huge because why not? So that was fun. So not restricted to just decided concept like the Grinch, could also work off of just why not put a dinosaur in clothes? So I actually have a small co-host, this lovely pterodactyl. He's in his fancy jacket right here. And his jeans. Okay, Mom says he's going to school. He's co-hosting this show with me. That's what he's doing. I want him. Mine. Oh, you can't see him. He doesn't have a spot to sit. Dang it, I should have planned this better. Oh well, I guess he'll go down for a nap. Be ready for school tomorrow. So that just shows you can have an abstract idea. He was created mostly can I put a shirt on something? And then the one Mom has in her hands right now is that one. Rudolph the reindeer pattern, but it was experimenting a bit more with textures because fabric just has so many different textures you can work and sew with. So this guy is his stomach is the bubbly fabric that you find on bathroom floor mats, and found a brand new sheet of fabric of it, turned it into his stomach, and his stomach is so cuddly and fiddly with. And then the other fun thing that I love, I have arguments against because it's super distracting, because his stomach's not distracting enough. Oh dear, how will we survive distraction? Is his eyes are shifting glitter. So pet his eyes and will change color. There are other options I could do with that. I could make a full body one. I could just do some aspects, but no, let's make it eyes, because eyes are the eyes to eyes are the eyes to the soul. That makes no sense.
Window to the soul.
Window to the soul. And this is why we have the higher authority of knowledge, aka mothers. So what else do we have? Oh, let's do the pink one.
The pink one?
Yeah, it fell. The pink one is another example of fabric and different sizes. So there's 3 sizes. The Grinch is the largest one I make. This guy is the next biggest. And this one is just travel buddy. So stick him in your purse or your bag, and you'll always have a companion. But the highlight of this guy is he's cute and adorable and just wants a hug, but also texture. You can't quite see on here, but he has little soft bumps on him that are a bit more engaging than just plain flat fabric, but not quite to the degree of this guy's stomach. And then I believe I have 2 more of my sewn options, just to ramble about them a bit more.
We can talk about how we can customize.
So this guy, we found Paw Patrol and had to make him. So he was fun, but he just shows that I can custom make these for people if they want. And if I find a fabric that you like or want, well, I can make an animal from it. So like this guy is a dragon. I believe I've shown you a T-Rex. I've shown you a pterodactyl. The options are endless. I personally like my dragons. That's just me. Mom doesn't like pterodactyls because I keep mimicking them and doing the hands and the noise. Yeah, I get in a lot of trouble. So she encourages me to do art because I get in less trouble. I just make a mess that I'll eventually clean up. So, as I said, he's just fun and a prime example of recycle, actually. A lot of the fabric I get is secondhand. So I'll keep an eye out for interesting curtains, sheets, fabric scraps. If it has an interesting texture or look, that's what creates these guys, because the environment around me is the inspiration. I very rarely go out and get brand new fabric because don't need to. I can recycle and reuse stuff. So, and just to make sure that I have shown you the T-Rex. Roar!
And the customization.
And the fun part of the T-Rexes is they tend to take naps. So they'll take a nap on their stomach, or they'll roll over and nap on their sides. And if you get them really annoyed, they'll stand up and yell at you. And then, because of how big all my dinosaurs and dragons are, there is a lot of leftover fabric. Don't throw those away. We just make miniature fish. So reuse everything I can. If it's too small for me to use, yes, I do have to get rid of it, but it'll be like, it's big. How can you use that anyway? I could probably use it for stuffing or quilting, but I'm not quite up to that level yet. I'm working my way up. So now that we've covered all things sewn, let's move on to crochet. I've been working with crochet consistently for about 8 years. And I actually learned from my mom how to crochet. When I was much, much younger, she taught me how to do doilies. And then when I went to university, I decided to pick it up and I retaught myself. So what you see is essentially what I taught myself how to do. Like I taught myself how to pick up, change colors, read a pattern, and then I challenge myself. I find something that I'm interested in, or again, have an idea, and it'll be, how do I make it? Very rarely do I read and follow a pattern. More often, I'll have a pattern and I'll modify it to my heart's content, which it could be anything in the world. So I don't actually have many examples on hand of my next one. I have my puzzle animals. So I'll follow a basic pattern, which is this guy. He is a typical lion. So he'll roar at you. And then if you do a magic trick, so wiggle, 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 he becomes 3 pieces, which is a puzzle. And then you can crisscross, check which way the head goes, because according to, again, my mother, she knows all, you do not put heads upside down. So this is right side up, pull it back up, and make sure the legs are still crossed. That does help. And you have a line again. And then another example one is this elephant. Follows the same idea. So again, you just push down the center, oops, careful, the legs do run away because you're applying force and it just goes fly away and you're just left with a head. And no, you may not taxidermy these and hang them up on your wall. They do not work like that. So you just have the legs. And then if you're really courageous and want to annoy people, you can do this. Get a couple of them and mix match, because they all follow the same pattern. The only concern is different sizes. So like here, I've mixed matched the legs of the lion and elephant. Pulling the elephant through. And I now have this weird, okay, bad example. It does not quite work. I should have kept the two same legs. So let's steal both of the lion's legs. Mix match. Pull the elephant through. And now you have a new elephant with different legs. So it's all up to you of how you combine them. Just as I said, be aware of shapes and sizes, because the big ones don't always fit the small ones. The medium ones go either way. They're not picky. But some of the customizations for this that I've tried is I've tried a dragon, a horse, a Clydesdale. Oh, Clydesdales are so much fun because they have a mane like the lion, and then along the feet, I put another mane around here. So they have the poofy legs and they clup around. And it's just so much fun. And I keep intending to add horns to my horses so I can have unicorns. They don't always get horns because the horses just go, no, I do not want a horn. I shall not have a horn. And have you tried arguing with a stuffed animal? You do not win. They win. You just obey to their demands. So, something that will be consistent throughout all of my crochet is the different textures. I normally look for color, so that means I have a wide range of textures, because if these two colors go together, I'll use them. They could be totally different textures and types. So it always makes it a fun sensory experience to touch and explore to see what this one feels like compared to this one, or even within the same creation. Because as I said, with the focus on colors, it'll look gorgeous, and one spot will be super soft, the other spot might be a bit harsher, or a combination in between. You can never tell until you touch it yourself or pick it up and poke it. I've been told poking things is bad, but in this case, it is allowed. I actually encourage a lot of people to do it, because if you don't engage with it, how are you supposed to tell? So those are my fun puzzle animals. If you have any suggestions on what I could try and make, I'm open to it. I enjoy the challenge. It'll just might take me a day or two to figure out how to do it, but I will eventually do it. Like I said, I have a dragon in progress. I also have a bunny in progress. So I just need ideas, because if left on my own, I'll stick to my own ideas. And why stick to my narrow range of ideas when I can have the world's range of ideas? I just need prodding. So moving on from my puzzle animals, here, I also do a lot of pictures. And some of these pictures are wall hanging size. Some of them become blankets. Can we predict which one is which? Not always. But they'll always be so much fun. So this is an example of a cross stitch pattern that I turned into a crochet wall hanging. So it's very intricate and detailed, and then fancy crocheted lace on top. eventually I hope to be able to make this into a blanket or this complicated into a blanket, because blankets are much harder, but they're so much cooler. Yeah. And then, so this one is actually a prime example of, I took an image. You're going to have to back up to the stove. Of, it's a pirate flag from One Piece. It's about a California king size, and it's a very, very accurate description and replica of the flag. It took me about 1.5 years to make, so I'm quite proud of it. Unfortunately, Mom has told me if I'm not going to use it, I have to sell it. Therefore, with much reluctance, I'm actually listening to my mother. And then it has a fun part of, if you look at the edging, it's actually lace. So you can see how it's lace here. It's to give the flag a raggedy edge so that it looks like a used, worn flag, not brand new. That's the kind of details I enjoy putting on my wall hangings and blankets, because it's a pirate flag. Why would it have a crisp, clean edge? Because it was flying in the seas. It should have a ragged edge. And unfortunately, I can only replicate that with a bit of lace. Disappointing, but it looks so good and is so wonderful. We're going to stick with blankets for now. And then I forget how I got started on these, but these are probably the most plain blankets I do. They're much more experimentation with color and color pattern. So I'm going to need help. They're stars. So just little star blankets for babies, or if you need a small blanket. So this one is just color pattern of these 3 different purples and their hues and how they work with each other. I have a lot of them because I went on a binge of, let's create star blankets and how different and unique can I make them. And it's just an interesting pattern and color work. And then from behind me, I pulled a magic finger blanket. Again, this is sized for a baby's blanket, and it might look normal and, well, normal, but it was actually finger crocheted. So there's about 4 or 5 individual yarn strands that were crocheted into this blanket. This is one of, again, the simpler ones, because we have to leave some for you to discover at the market, where normally there's only about 4 strands, but 5 different balls of yarn. So partway, switch out a yarn. So it always is constantly changing and is not consistent throughout. And it's just so engaging and interesting. Of one section might be fuzzy, the next section might be more blue or something else. It's just cool and unique. And how often do you get to see somebody who finger knits it?
The pattern is on the other side.
Oh, I've been informed that the pattern is actually on the other side. You can tell I'm not the Vanna White of this show. My Vanna White has sat down for a moment. I've been working her too hard. Gotta give work her rights. So, as I said, this is all finger knitted. And it's a nice, lovely, warm winter blanket.
You might want to explain finger crochet, what finger crochet is.
It
Is
is.
that a waffle stitch, Erin?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It took
it's
quite a
beautiful.
bit to learn how to do it. But once it was done, it looks gorgeous.
Yeah.
And trying to convince the idea that need to do more blankets and fancy stitches, because they're fun and engaging, except they're hard to learn and keep consistent, because counting is hard.
Tell them that finger crocheting is done out a needle. or a
Oh,
hook.
I'm not sure if I made this clear enough, but finger crochet is done without a needle or a hook, just your hands. So you just wrap the yarn around your hands and treat your hands as a hook. I've been told that switching to a hook to do the same project is actually a lot harder than just using your hand, and slower.
Hey, so that blanket was made as a finger crochet blanket?
Yes.
Oh, I missed that part. That's amazing.
Sorry, I might ramble a bit too fast because I'm hyper, I'm excited, and I get to share all this awesomeness with you guys and get ideas and feedback. It's just going to be great. So pardon me if I ramble a
No,
bit
that's
too fast.
awesome. It's not you, it's me. I'm really glad. Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay, and some of the other ones is I do corner to corner out of fun, also because this idea I could do plain single stitch. It'd also be big when I want it to be much bigger, kind of like the fish I caught. In reality, it's only this big, but according to my stories, it's this big. So this is my fish that I caught. It's actually
Upside
Oh,
down.
upside down. I'm not Vanna White. So I now have a pop to drink. And I will always have a pop to drink as long as I have this.
Put it pop size. Turn it around.
Okay.
Turn it around.
That is awesome, Erin.
I'm sorry. I can't read and tell what I'm holding up because to me it looks the exact opposite as it does to you.
Yeah, I know. It flips it for you. It's the
Mhm.
camera, it's not you. The camera's working against you. That's awesome though.
And then here's another fun one. The monkey. Monkey has banana. Mom, can you help?
Are his hands pockets?
No, it doesn't have pockets. This is a banana and he's holding on
Oh,
to
I
the banana.
see.
It can be a wall hanging or a rug. Really, it's up to you of what you wish to limit yourself to.
So cute.
He's one of the few times I followed a pattern because I didn't know what I was doing and it looked so cute, so I couldn't alter it. If I do it again, I'll probably make him green or blue. Just a fun, unique one.
Yeah, so awesome.
These are absolutely beautiful. Your pirate flag, your stitches are just so beautiful. Even, how you're changing your colors. It's so crisp. So really nice. Very impressive.
Yeah, it comes from a lot of practice and a lot of trial and error and a lot of riveting. I
Yes.
think I made that pirate blanket nearly 1.5 times due to how much I had to go back and rivet. So I just went back and fixed it, found another mistake, went back and fixed it. Yeah, that's the fun thing about crochet. You have to rivet so much. And then there is also a very practical one that I have. It's completely different from everything else. Okay, blankets are practical, but that's beside the point. They're also pretty, which was the point, was that I have twiddle muffs. So they're literally muffs that you can attach items in, and they're supposed to
And
be
texture on the inside.
with texture on the inside, and they're supposed to be aids for people with Alzheimer's or dementia or stress or ADHD or just can't stop fiddling, because when you turn it inside out, all the fiddle items are inside and not a visual distraction.
I do
This one I have not done all the research on. I just really enjoyed the concept. So I'm actually going to hijack somebody who's done the research and can properly explain it to the degree that, okay, I'm now distracted. You come explain how these work while I be distracted.
So the idea is that you attach things that are familiar to the individual. So, if they liked a lot of bacon, you might do a measuring spoon or beads or keys or tools, and you attach them on the inside. And then it's said for someone who is highly anxious or someone suffering from dementia, they put their hands in and then they can play or finger or just feel the items and rub them as a way of calming themselves. So it's a nice little trick or strategy for having someone calm themselves with something familiar that they can rub.
And it's not a visual distraction because it's on the inside. So it doesn't distract anyone and it calms people. So thank you for that research. Anybody with any questions?
So why don't you show your how you're doing your blanket over there?
Okay,
Kind of do a step by step.
I've just actually been prompted to show something that is my work in progress that I'm working to get my PhD on, aka project half done. So we are having I know workshops, and the guest to the Fiber Frolic is coming, Miss Lee. She wrote a book about Harry Potter crochets. I forget how many, but it's a fantastic book, and I've been using it for inspiration. I finally sat down and went, I'm going to create something from this, kind of as described, but with my own practical twist. So I took the Grim Dolly, and I'm currently in the middle of transforming it into a blanket. So I'm following the pattern stitch for stitch, just in corner to corner stitches. So this is the start of it. It's about a third of the way done and about, I think, 7 feet long. I'm too short to hold it. And we need a backup. Don't worry about the yarn. But it's being done in Burnett blanket yarn. So it is absolutely humongous. It is going to be so warm and so lovely, and it's softest to the touch. I love, in case you'll find out at the Fiber Frolic, I love Burnett blankets because it is so much fun to work with and just so vibrant. So these are the 2 colors that the pattern calls for. And okay, we can go back up.
I'll show you. You do one row at a time.
And you said that was a Harry Potter crochet pattern that you've sort of adapted for your own.
Yes, it's actually in Miss Lee's book, Harry Potter book, and it's the Dolly. Doily. So here's the pattern and my progress on it. So I've been looking at this grid, and each square is a crochet square. So that just translated into a corner to corner square.
Right.
So it's very, in theory, straightforward project. In reality, not so much.
Yeah.
Because it's a mix of picking up yarn and dropping yarn and carrying through yarn to create the effects. So can't tell as easily on camera, but like right here, you can see where I carried my black as compared to over here where I dropped my black. So I didn't carry it, therefore there's no red black lines. I'd hope there's no red lines. There's no red in this. But it's just creating this interesting effect of recreating the mess at the bottom of the tea cup, because, excuse me, I got hiccups, because the bottom of the teacup is not clean. It is not organized, but it also does not have solid lines going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Right.
So by picking up and dropping random yarns, I recreate that effect where you don't have those solid sections of color, but you also don't have those line after lines. So it's quite
Right.
interesting to watch and figure out, okay, I can carry yarn through here, but not through here. And
Yeah.
where is it acceptable? Where is it not? I
Yeah.
also have another Harry Potter blanket in the works where I discovered what math is and how much math hates the crocheters. Because what this is I'm taking her lovely works and adding my own twist to them. And I'm arguing with them in my own ways. With my Grim doily blanket, it's when and where do I pick up and drop colors. With my other Harry Potter blanket, it's the maths, because I'm combining two of her projects into one. And it's the same size, and they're not the same size. So it's how do I recalibrate one piece into another so that they end up being the same size. And again, it's going to be huge because I'm doing it corner to corner, because I do not learn my lesson of, if I want a small project, do not do corner to corner. If you do not know what you're doing, do not do corner to corner. So I'm getting a large project where I don't quite know what I'm doing, but I'm having a huge blanket, and it'll look gorgeous because the corner to corner is adding this gorgeous texture to it that it did not have before. And it's also driving me to develop new techniques. So for my corner to corner, I actually figured out how to make a curve. So if you look up here, where my bells are, I think they're bells. I haven't sewn in my ends yet. I actually have curves where corner to corner is traditionally much more like the 8-bit game style. You do not have curves. I figured out how to make curves for this pattern, which was fun. And then also discovered, of all the style, this is actually drawn from the Harry Potter Quidditch banners. Of all the patterns in the Harry Potter Quidditch banner, this one, the little upside down houses, is evil. It is ridiculously hard and ridiculously simple. You got to learn how to count and remember how to count, because 1, 2, 3 is followed by 4, not 5 or 6. Yeah, that was a fun day to find that out. I might have to go back to grade school. So that's my current project. Mom's been laughing at me because I'll walk around with my project over my shoulders so I can walk and chat while I work on it. Because I carry my crochet with me everywhere. Go out, I have my crochet. I'm creating stuff. I stay at home, I'm still crocheting, I'm still creating stuff. Which is just so much fun. How do you not create stuff? There's just so many ideas and possibilities of what you can do. You're only limited by your own time and expectations. So my sewing is limited because I'm not carrying my sewing machine to a concert line so I can sew in line. But I will carry a ball of yarn and crochet in the concert line for 15 minutes. Okay, I'm not being realistic. I'll stand and crochet for an hour and a half because that's how long lines are.
It's amazing though. I cannot crochet and walk at the same time.
Oh, I mildly do. I usually just, okay, Mom is right in front of me or right here on me. So if she ever moves from that point, I go forward and follow that. Or if I'm by myself, I'll do 3 stitches, look up, check my surroundings, do another 3 stitches, check my surroundings. So it's
so
much
basically you're
slower,
blind.
but it's better than being bored. Well, I think that's the end of everything I had pre-prepared. So if anyone wants me to expand or have questions, I'm ready for questions.
You know what? Do you still have, because I sent the email out right when we first logged on, but I know I got a text from someone saying that she didn't get the email letting us, letting them know that we were live until about like 15-20 minutes in. So would you like to show us the Grinch again? Because that was hilarious. And I
need
bet
to
a
do
lot
the
of people
Grinch.
missed it.
The
Yeah.
Grinch is coming back to steal the show.
Yeah.
So if you can sing the theme song better than I can. You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. And I forget the rest of the lyrics. So his hat does come off because I have not put his hat on properly yet. So here's his lovely head. Here's the eyes that say I'm going to steal your entire Christmas and leave you with not even your ham. His fancy jacket, which is now upside down. Better. And the puffy ball. He even has the little boots. Though, unfortunately, you do have to provide Max. I'm not providing a dog. Although, I do have a puzzle animal that's a dog, so you could get him and say that's Max. He's actually the right color, too, with the big floppy ears. Oh my gosh, I have Max.
Just tie some antlers to him.
I will have to make antlers for you to tie on. Because that's always so much
That's
fun.
hilarious.
Yeah, it's always so much fun to discover you actually have this and you did not mean to create it.
Right. Well, where's the best way for people to find you?
Well, this weekend I will be at Fiber Frolic, obviously. I have a website called Chaotic Nights 8268.
Start so they know Max's names.
So CHATIC.
CHAO.
I cannot spell my own business name. Yeah, I definitely need to go back to school. So CHAOTICNIGHTS 8268. The fun thing about that is remember that, and you can find my Instagram, you can find my Facebook, you can find my website, you can find my email, because that is the handle for everything.
Perfect. And is that .com?
Yeah, .com. And for
Perfect.
the email,
Okay,
it's
I'm
Gmail.
putting that in the chat right now. So chaoticnights8268.com.
Yes.
And then of course, Instagram.
It's just Chaotic Nights 8268 again.
Right. At Chaotic Nights 8268.
Yep.
Right. Because yeah, it's so funny. I got a message from one of our fellow vendors this morning. She was like, Holly, I'm gonna go broke this week from all of that stuff. She's like, I bought dye this morning, all of those amazing hooks yesterday.
Well, obviously you're
Yeah.
doing something right then.
There's just been so many good guests on through this virtual festival. It's just been so fun, right? And like, all of these beautiful creative things that you've made. Like, I love the mix and match body parts that you've put together. Like, for kids, that is such a creative thing for being able to put. I mean, my kid's been sitting back here behind me while we've been talking, building Lego, right? And that's such a good thing for building their creativity in their brains as they're growing up, right? And for you to have toys like that for kids to be able to put together, mix and match body parts for animals.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like Tupperware did that back in the day. They had like mix and match body parts, right? Like,
Definitely. Well, the fun thing with the puzzle animals is one day you could be a vet, the next day you could be a mad scientist, or you can be an archaeologist, because I have dinosaur puzzle animals, and you go from I have a bunch of fossils to I have a living dinosaur. So you can easily create stories and any kind of story you want. Like, do you want to be a cowboy and hunt down all of these wild horses? Well, you just have to find all the parts that are hidden around. So it's quite easy to make them engaging or as stories. Or you could teach stuff like what happens if you add this plus this? Well, I don't know. Let's find out.
Yeah. Yeah. I love how creative your approach to crochet is. I love, like having Coletta on the other night and how much creativity she brings to the doll making. And I feel like your creativity is, I mean, you guys both crochet, but what you guys do is so different, even with the same modality, I love it. Yeah, it's so fun. I can't wait because like I said, I'd never met you. I hadn't heard of your business until we connected and literally just like a week ago. So yeah, I'm really excited for people to come and see all of your products, and I'm excited to stop by your booth and see your products in person.
My
So
business approach, and creation approach is literally don't ask why, ask why not. Why can't I do this? Why won't this work? Why not? And then the other fun thing is, as you said, with the puzzle animals, it's so engaging, but it's also so customizable because if you really like this thing and you have these kinds of restrictions, well, talk to me. I'll take it as a challenge and make something that works for you and that will fit your needs, because it might be you can't stand this type of fabric or this type of yarn, so we'll find something else that works better for you.
yeah, that's so fun. Have you ever worked, because I know we've covered a lot of, like we've been covering a lot of like natural wool and reestablishing Canadian wool production and all that stuff. Have you ever worked with any of like the natural fiber stuff, or have you worked more with, like you said, you just use fabric, you never have to buy fabric because you just use whatever's around. So have you worked with any of the natural wool, or do you work more with the synthetics? And no, when I'm asking that question, I am not asking with any judgment, because I know sometimes I've asked that and people are like, oh my God, what am I supposed to say there? There was no judgment in me asking that question.
Well, although a lot of what I work with is synthetic, that is not my focus. I would just use more synthetic because I get more vibrant in a larger range of colors. But
Right.
I have worked with natural fibers because they met my color demands and my texture demands. I've mixed and matched fibers. So if you look at any of my products, I won't be able to tell you what they're made out of, because that is not the important part for me. It is the colors, it is the texture, it is how they work together. So yes, some I have set aside going, I went out of my way to do it in this specific yarn. But most of them, it's a mixture of both.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. I remember you mentioning that, and that was something I thought was so cool, because I love to mix textures. If the colors go nice, I love to mix textures in crazy ways. Where a lot of people are like, that, are you sure? Like, that's kind of a ridiculous texture mix. And I'm like, no, this is going to be so awesome. And oh shoot, we lost Ilana. She was in the waiting room. Come back, Ilana. But I was asking out of curiosity, because I think there has been sometimes this conversation in the community that like, oh, well, if you're not using natural fibers, then you're not, like, you're second class, or you're not being environmentally friendly. And I completely don't agree. I so much want to use the best choice possible. And there's like the good, better, best, blah, 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 right? But in the end, like the thing is, I started out buying a scanning yarn from Walmart, and that changed my perspective on everything that I buy, because it made me realize, holy crap, it takes me forever to make something.
Yeah.
And here I am, like, buying things for the cheapest price possible from Walmart, hats made in a factory in China or wherever, Vietnam, whatever. And when I heard about, because it was right around that time that there was that factory cave-in in, I can't remember the country, but that factory caved in, and then there was that whole spotlight on how awful the industry is in fashion, and how people are not getting paid, and it's unsafe and everything else. And for me, that was pivotal and made me realize, okay, wow, I cannot make something. I cannot make a hat. For me, it was hats, because I was focusing on making hats. I cannot make a hat with acrylic yarn for the amount of money that they're charging me, for these acrylic hats in XYZ store that I will not name. And, because they are paying these people so little money, and they're making them work in these conditions and whatever else. That was pivotal for me and made me make better choices. And I was using acrylic yarn at the time, right? And I still use acrylic yarn. It's still a better choice. We're still makers. We're still making better choices. And so, yeah, I kind of say that because to me, acrylic yarn is still a better choice, because we're still understanding where our textiles are coming from. We're still not blind to the fact that we all wear clothes. We all need clothes. Right?
Well, and it would also be a bit about, are you planning this to be like a long-term thing? Like, do you expect your project to last 10 or 20 years? Or do you expect it to be durable? What uses are you using it for? Like,
Yeah.
and I'm not being judging, but I would not want to spend $60 on some nice natural fiber and then turn around and give it to a child to really roughhouse with. That would not be the best use for it. And
Yeah.
like, that would be a very expensive lesson, but it also, it's not giving the child something that is appropriate for them. It is not using the yarn appropriate for it. But doing the exact same project, but giving it to an older person who would, yes, could still play with it, engage with it, but they wouldn't roughhouse with it as much. You would not expect it to survive a mudstorm.
Right.
So it's all about how you're choosing to use it. So yes, acrylic yarn is good for some stuff. It's not good for other stuff. Should you be aware of where it comes from? Probably. But unless that's something that really, really matters to you, don't let it sway your choice in what you use, because it all has a purpose, and it's just figuring out what usage is right for you.
You also don't use.
Yeah. 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 And thank you very much for being willing to answer my question about that, because yeah, I thought it was a good question to ask, because you are going to be an interesting person to have in the event, completely surrounded by all natural fibers.
Oh yeah. And the way I found out about this event is I actually belong to a spinning group, and they spin all natural fibers. I have nothing to do with spinning. I just really like the people. So I'm already exposed to it. And
Yeah.
it's just an interesting community to become further involved with, and very little judgment. Yes, we do judge you on, did you really be that ridiculous to do something that dumb? Is it relevant to what we're doing? No, you were just being dumb. So we're going to judge you for being dumb, of being a prime example of being dumb for walking into a push door. Wait, that would actually work. Walking into a pull door. That's what we'll judge you
Right.
on.
Yeah, but I know that you had said like your spinning group had asked you to go ahead and apply because
Mhm.
their specialty is spinning and they wanted to see more of the kinds of creative works that you make at something like the Fiber Frolic. So thank you very much for
Well,
joining us today for the virtual festival and in person at the event. I'm really excited to have you there.
well, it's like what
So
you said with the doll maker. Both of us crochet, but we have vastly different techniques and specialties. So spinners, even if they crochet, they don't specialize in what we do. So
right.
seeing us is
Yeah.
just, oh, this is what our product can turn into. This is inspiration and really cool to see how it works. It just
Yeah, exactly.
increases the range of everything.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Erin. I'm going to let you go because we have Alana here with us now with 2timesinfinity. And speaking of natural fibers and spinners, that is exactly what Alana is all about. So,
Yes.
Oh, you're in for a good time then.
yep. So I'm going to let you go and we will see you. We've got your link in the chat there. So we will see you there at the Fiber Frolic on Saturday and Sunday. Thank you so much, Erin.
Bye,
Okay,
Aaron.
thank
Really
you.
enjoyed you.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, Alana,
Hi.
we've got. Okay, so we just have a comment here really quick.
Mhm.
Susanna's just saying, Jocelyn of Northern Knits podcast uses acrylic as well, and she will be at the Edmonton Fiber Frolic with Fireweed Fiber Co. Yes, that is awesome to know. I know, actually, keep an eye on Northern Knits podcast, by the way, because Northern Knits podcast is going to have some amazing swag to give away pretty soon here, like this
Ooh.
week. So anyways, Ilana, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, no
You have
problem.
such a wealth of knowledge. Speaking of amazing ways to make things durable, I have learned so much from you about things like mohair as an alternative to nylon for strength and so on. So I don't want to take up much time from your trunk show because I know you have a ton of things to show and share. You as a master spinner are a wealth of knowledge and could teach us so much, but I know you probably have a ton to show us as well.
I have a
Alana,
couple of
thank you so much
things,
for joining
yes.
us.
So first, I just want to introduce myself and tell you a little bit about who I am. I know you know who I am, Holly, but maybe not everyone who's watching does. So my name's Ilana Goodfellow, and I've been spinning for about 11-ish kind of years, although there's a year in there where I had a gap and I didn't spin at all for whatever reason. So I learned about a program that they teach at Olds College from the instructor who taught me how to spin, called the Master Spinner Program. And of course, because I'm like that, and once I learn about something new I want to do, it's like I want to go all in and learn everything I can about it. So that's what I did. I enrolled in the program and I graduated 3 years ago now from the Master Spinner Program. So I'm now considered a Master Spinner. And so one of the things I wanted to do, there's two things I love to do. One is to show people and introduce them to all kinds of different fibers, hence our business, 2timesinfinity. And the other thing is I love to enable people to make their very best yarn, because so many people, they start spinning and they feel so bad about their yarn. I've heard so many people talk about, oh, my yarn is so bad and it's so lumpy and it's not perfect and that. And I just want to help people feel so much better about their yarn by helping them get better skills, but also just looking at the yarn in a different way and seeing that it's actually a really beautiful yarn that you made, so that will turn into something beautiful that you'll love in your life. So that's one of my goals. So I'll tell you a little bit about 2timesinfinity, our business. So it's a business that I run with my husband, and it's called 2timesinfinity because there's two of us that run it, and we're both artists. And as artists, we have an infinite number of ideas. So it's 2 times an infinite number of ideas for things. So that's where the name came from. We have some really important things that are values to us that we try and I guess, exemplify through the kind of things that we do with our business. So one of the things is that the impact that we have on the world around us, for good or for ill, we all make an impact on the things that, the places that we live, the places that other people live, that we buy things from. And so we wanted to do our best to try and minimize the footprint and any negative impact that we might have on the environment. So there's 3 things that we focus on. One of them is our packaging. So you won't see any plastic in our packaging. I've done research to figure out what we can do to package things, mail things, and that will be only using cardboard or paper or string tied around some of our products and that. But all of those can either be composted, or you can reuse some of them if you would like to reuse them as well. The one exception to that is sometimes I reuse boxes that I've gotten things from other people in, and sometimes the bottom might still have a little bit of plastic tape on it. So I've sometimes left the tape on before I send it, but that's the only place you'll see any plastic that we might send out to anybody. The other thing we look for is in our suppliers. So there's a few different global standards that are out there that companies can get certified in to show their commitment to trying to do their best as well in the world around us. So one of them is called the Global Organic Textile Standard. And so some of the products that we get, for example, the little bags that are in our 12 Days of Christmas boxes, all those little bags are GOTS certified. The company who makes them are GOTS certified. And even some of our suppliers, of our European suppliers of some of our fibers, are also GOTS certified. The other standard is OEKO-TEX, which is one I think is really important. That's the standard that a lot of our suppliers use for that one is around dyeing. So there's dyeing to make sure that dyeing is not harmful to people who use the products, but also not harmful to the environment. But in addition, not harmful to the people who are actually doing the dyeing, because that would be horrible if we were, getting products that we love and they seem like they're really great, but the people who are actually creating them for us are being harmed. So the places that we buy all of our colored fiber from are both OEKO-TEX standards. So we can be assured that at least the people who are doing the work for us are actually going to be not going to be harmed by it, and they'll be healthy from it. The other thing that we do, the third area, is in the products that we actually sell. So we don't sell anything that's man-made. So you'll see a lot of conversations about things like nylon with merino for stock yarn. We don't sell any nylon, like Holly had mentioned. This is always another natural alternative that we can use instead of that. We don't sell any viscoses, so you won't see something like bamboo. The exception to that is there is a preparation of bamboo that is made similar to the way that linen is made, and flax, the way the flax is processed, that's called bast bamboo. So it's basically, it's actually the fibers run through the stem of the bamboo the same way that the linen fibers run through the stem of a flax plant or like a rami plant. So they're processed in the same way as that. So the harm to the environment, it's not using the harmful chemicals that dissolve it all and then extrude it into a long thread like viscoses are. So we don't sell any viscoses. We don't sell obviously any plastic fibers. We don't sell stellina. Those are things we don't sell. But what we do sell are all kinds of different beautiful animal fibers that you can find, everything from many different types of wool to alpacas and llama and cashmeres and Angora goats, to a variety of plant fibers like rami and flax and cotton. And so we have a whole bunch of different things like that. So that's a little bit about our company. If anyone has any questions at all, and if anyone has any questions, feel free to pop in anytime and ask. And I can't see the chat, but Holly will see it and she'll ask me the question. So what I'm going to maybe go to next is the thing I want to show you that's new. So I'm really, really excited about these, and I've been excited for like 2 weeks about making these and sharing them with you guys. So I'm calling them our exploration boxes. So I'll show you the first one. There's 2 different ones I've made. So this is the first one right here. This is the luxury exploration box. So it has like the most soft, beautiful, really, really nice squishy fibers that you want to have. So this one's camel, like baby camel. This one's yak. This one's cashmere. And this one's Angora rabbit. So what this box is, you get 25 grams of each of the fibers, but you also get this with it. I only have the first sheet finished for this one, so you only see the first sheet, but you'll get this, which is a whole bunch of information about how you can actually explore the fibers and compare the fibers and do your own both tactile exploration and some visual exploration to compare the differences between them, because they're all luxury fibers and can be used in similar things, but they're all a little different from one another. And then there also will be pages about the history of each of the different fibers, the animals that it comes from, where they come from, what the general uses of the different fibers are, and ways you want to spin them. And that's really important, because if you spin this one, the camel, the same way you spin the yak, you may be very disappointed in the result. And I'll tell you why. So camel is one of the from the camelid families. And I found that camelids, and generally people find camelids, there's a very narrow range of twists that you can add to your fibers before it becomes basically pot scrubbing fiber. And you don't want to turn beautiful baby camel and use it to scrub your pots with. So camel, you need enough twist to sort of holds together, but then you have to stop short of getting too much twist. So then that's sort of one of the things you can do in the exploration box. You can try different preparations and figure out what the right twist is for you. Yak is a much shorter fiber. So yak, you don't want to spin quite the same way as camel, because you need to make sure you understand that the draft is shorter, or you want to put it into a row leg and spin it woolen style, that kind of thing. So that's what will the kind of information that will be in this box. And I see there is a question. To Surrey, is it just Surrey, or is it all the kinds of alpaca that she's allergic to? Because this particular alpaca, or this is camel, sorry, it's not a Surrey alpaca. None of these are alpaca, if that's the question that's being asked. There's no alpaca in this one. So I'll give someone a chance to answer that one first. That's the thing with me. If you ask a question, a lot of it will be, it depends, and then I'll ask you some more questions before we get to the answer. So while we're talking about that, though, this is the box I'm the most excited about. I wanted to show you guys this one. So this is the wool exploration box. There, so you can see it a bit better. So 4 different types of wools. None of them are merino. None of them are BFL. And the whole point of this box is so that people can learn to explore different wools than the common ones we see all the time, and start to get an understanding that there's merino is a great fiber and it's a fantastic fiber, and so is BFL, but there's other fibers that might be better in other uses, better suited for it. So that's kind of what the whole purpose of this box is. So it comes with 4, like the other one, 25 grams. So there's Rambouillet, that's not the Rambouillet, I can tell by the touch of it. Which one is it? This is the Rambouillet. He's a little short, little stubby guy. So he's known as the French merino, and there's information in the little the handout that I have here. So this one's done. So lots of information in this one about the origin and why we call it the French merino. It's a really interesting story. This one's Lincoln, which is very, very different from all the other ones. It's a long wool and it's a very long staple. And if you notice, it's not very puffy, so it's not very lofty. So it's quite a different fiber from the other one. They're not going to fit in there very well. And these two, this one's Romney, which I find such an interesting fiber, because this has been like the workhorse of wool over the history of wool. Once the Romney sheep was developed, it was like everyone made many, many things historically with Romney. That is just a very, very common fiber. And it's also a dual purpose animal, so that we not only raise them for their fleece, we also raise them for their meat as well. So it's got all kinds of uses. It's a really great fiber to use. And Shetland, one of my favorites. I love Shetland and working with Shetland. This is going to be a top, I should say, that's come from a mill, and it will most likely be a single coated Shetland sheep, because that's usually what they use for the mills. Shetlands, what I love about Shetlands is you can get them in dual coated if you get a fleece, and you can just pull off the beautiful outer coat locks from the locks, and you have this beautiful downy undercoat, which is just as soft as a cashmere sometimes. So those are some of the things I talk about. So in the wool exploration box, again, we have a sheet at the front. It's going to talk about all the different things you can do, put them all beside each other because they're wool. And you think wool is wool, right? but it's not when you look at the different kinds of ones. You can see them all together, and then you can touch them and see how they all feel different from one another. See which ones feel, oh, that would feel really good. I'd like to wear like a nice scarf made out of that one. Or this one is like, no, not a scarf at all. Maybe a beautiful rug. And then just if I can turn the pages here, there is a page of resources. So these are the resources that I use for my research and putting this together, so you can go and read more information. There's also a bit here of places where if you're in Canada and you would like to get raw fleece of any of these particular breeds, here are some places that there are producers who produce these kind of sheep in Canada. A couple of the interesting things about a couple of these sheep too is that they're actually endangered breeds in Canada. So Lincoln is an endangered breed in Canada. Rambouillet, of all the things, Rambouillet is also an endangered breed in Canada as well. So the thing that makes me the most excited about this box is not only are you learning about different wools, it's also super, super affordable. Because when you look at the different types of wool that are out there, the ones that people are the most familiar with are the ones that end up costing the most money. And I don't really know why that ends up happening in just the way things are, but that's what happens. And all these other wools, they're much more affordable for people, because I really, really strongly believe that spinning should not be something that is out of range of anyone to afford to do. Everybody should be able to afford to spin. And if you can find fibers that are just as soft, just as workable as other fibers, you know, and you can get it at a price you can afford, I think that's a win for everybody. So one of the other things I wanted to show you is I took a little tiny bit of each of those fibers. I want to show you the lengths of them. So if you can see this one, that's a Lincoln. And see, it's got these, if you can see it better, it's got kind of some really beautiful, like slow waves in there, because it's a long wool. And that's what long wools look like. And they have instructions for you to do this yourself in the box so you can see it. So this one's the Romney. It's also a longer lock. It's related to a long wool, but it also has like a little more tighter kind of waves than that one. This guy is the Shetland. So he's shorter, but it's very similar look to the Romney as far as the lock. Now this is my favorite one. This is the Rambouillet. Now look how short it is there, and look at how long that is. So those locks, they just really, after you, what I've done to do this, I've just taken a bit of fiber and put it over steam, and then you can see what the lock structure is again on your fiber. Any commercially prepared fiber, that's so you can see what the lock structure look like and see how long it stretches. That's really important to know, because what that'll tell you is if you use Rambouillet, it's much loftier than even merino. If you use it, whatever you make out of it, once you wash it, it will go back to the shape of the original lock structure. So this went really short and fat. So if you've made a bunch of beautiful yarn, you spun it to the certain diameter that you want, you spun this length that you want it, and then you wash it, and it's like, oh, this yarn is way fatter than I wanted, and it's too short. If you use Rambouillet, that's why. So it's the kind of fiber that you want to sample first, see how big you want to really spin it. After you've washed it, then check it. So I found this really exciting, seeing that with that one particular fiber. So that's what I want to tell you about that. So are there any questions about those?
I don't see any yet,
Okay.
but we're also on like a 20,
Yes.
probably 20 to 30 second delay. So that may be part of it too.
Okay, no
It's
problem.
funny. I have a question though.
Yes.
Are they all in the box there? Are they all top, or is it a mix of top and roving?
So these are all top. All of these ones are
Okay.
top. And they're all produced at those mills I spoke about that are in Europe. I'd love to do
Okay.
Canadian. I want so badly to be selling Canadian produced top, but we need a worsted mill, and I'm waiting, and I keep telling people, and hopefully all the people that are listening, there'll be someone out there that'll want to buy one and make a worsted mill for us, because I so want to buy worsted top from Canada, from Canadian producers, but we just don't have any. So for now, what we can do is the next best thing, which is also really fantastic, is you can learn how to process it yourself and turn the fiber from a raw fleece into roving, which I can, and then into a good top, which I can teach you how to do. And we did that last spring in the class we did washing from a raw fleece.
Yeah, that was such a good class. can you briefly, if you have time, tell us just the difference, the basic difference between a roving and a top?
Yes. So a top is, so that there's a couple of things. So there's terminology that we use as hand spinners, and then there's terminology that they use in the commercial mills. And they will be the same words and they'll mean different things. That's one of the complications about spinning and the fiber world. So top in the spinning world is you've taken, basically you use hand combs, and after you've washed your fleece, you comb it so that you get the longest fiber that's all very consistent in length. That's what you have on your comb. So your whole purpose is to get the all identical or as close to identical lengths of fiber as you can. So then, and then it's all going to be uniform. In the mills, what they mean when they say top, sometimes you'll see shorter fibers. Like if you get some merino and you look, you pull out some fibers and they'll be this long, some of them will be this long. There'll be a variety of lengths of fibers. So for them, the top is basically the nicest and the best, and there's no neps or noils in the fiber, and it's all running aligned in one direction. So that's top. And then roving is basically, you've kind of aligned things in one direction. So again, with hand spinning, roving doesn't have to be all perfectly aligned, and it has just a little bit of a twist, like a quarter of a twist kind of thing to the fiber. And that just sort of naturally comes. Again, in the mill, you'll see there'll be like a slight twist to it when you get a roving as well. And often when you see roving from a mill though, it's going to be all sort of scattered directions, and it won't be all aligned in one direction. That's what I've seen. There might be some mills that also define it a bit differently than what I've seen before too. So it's always a problem with definitions. I want to know the same answer, Leanna, as you have. How do you add more hours in your day? I have the same problem because there's too many things that I want. I want to do all the things that everybody does. And I just don't have enough time to learn all the things. And I have to take a hard look and get rid of some of the stuff I have because I can't do all the things anymore. Okay, an alternative. You might want to try the Rambouillet, but you have an allergy to lanolin though. Let me think about that. I'll think about something else, figure something else that's got loft, but yet still has warmth. I'll think about that, and maybe by the end of my little chunk show, maybe I'll have had some ideas will come to my head. So should I talk about the class a little bit that's coming up? Okay, so I can show you what you'll be getting. So the class is coming this Saturday. It's still time to register for it, and there's still room to register. And I'd love to teach more and addict more people to my favorite love, spinning, because we always need more spinners in the world. So we're going to be learning spinning from a drop spindle. So I'm going to show you the spindle that we're going to make. So I've designed there, so you can see, but I've designed this spindle and designed it on purpose for beginners. So it's a very basic spindle. And if you're very familiar with very much woodworking stuff, this is basically just a toy wheel. And this is the little dowel that's stuck in the middle of it. So it's not a very complicated, but really a spindle is really just a stick with a weight on it. That's all a spindle really is. So that's what we've made here. Now it looks like it's simple, and I've seen ones that are simple, but they're not very good for spinners, beginner spinners or spinners in general. They're harder to use. We've designed this one so it's got a good balance, so you can spin it and it's got a good weight and a balance there on your hand. The other thing that I did, so see this end is pointed and it's got a little bit of a groove right in it there. That's where when you're doing hand spinning, we'll do what's called a half hitch, which we'll talk about in the class and how to do that. And you put the yarn there so that it will catch in it and you continue spinning and drafting so it won't fall on the ground. But I've also put one on this end too. I like spinning with the whorl in the bottom because I'm like that and I just like the bottom whorl. But most people, they prefer using a top whorl spindle. So we've designed this so that you can actually use it either way. And I'll show everybody how to use it in both directions. And you can figure out for yourself which one you like better. So that when you're picking other spindles from other makers, you'll know the right spindle that will work for the way you like to spin. The other thing that we designed about this, which will be an advantage for the future for our new spinners who want to learn things, is it'll go on a surface and you can still flick it and spin. So if you have a little bowl of any kind of bowl, you can actually use this as a supported spindle. So it's kind of a 3-way spindle that we've designed, especially for beginners. So it's something simple. It's really affordable. And you'll get one of these in the class that you can take home and spin with. So that's this. Fiber you're going to get. I want to talk about that. This label keeps coming off, which is why we've changed our labeling. So everyone's going to get one of these. This is 75 grams of white blue-faced Leicester. And it's a really nice lofty wool, and it's got a nice grip on it so that when you spin on it, you should get all the locks, the little scales will hold together, and you'll be able to make a really good yarn out of that easily. So that's one. And then I'll hold up the whole basket here. You're also going to get the same size of one of these colors. So I'll bring a variety of colors. And the reason we want to do that is we're going to ply the yarn. So you're going to learn how to spin it. But if you want to make a plied yarn, you have to have 2 of them together. And if we have 2 different colors, then you can start seeing the spiral and see what you've made. So that's that part. Then on top of that, most of the time when you go buy things, especially at fiber shows like the Frolic, you're going to see fiber come in different preparations. So everyone's going to get not necessarily this color, but little half 25-gram braids of a blended top. So we can see what different things we can do with that. And a bat. We get a little 30-gram bat. So we can talk about how you spin from a bat. So that when you go out and look to the vendors and look at all the things they have, they'll have braids. Some of them will be tops. Some of them will be dyed ones. Some of the dyers will have braids like this. Some of them will have bats like this one too. And you'll know when you go, you won't be afraid and think that, oh, I don't want to buy those because I'll just wreck it because I'm a beginner spinner. I want you to have the confidence to know you can buy one of those and you can make something interesting. Now, it's very gray. Most people will say it's just really boring, but I picked this color on purpose. And that's because if you want to apply it with something, you can apply it with this blue, and look how that makes that blue pop. And look at the red going against it too. And even a paler color like the lilac is so pretty against that. But one of my favorites, you should take a hot color like an orange. Look at that against the gray. It's like an ember, fire and embers or something like that. So that's why I chose this color. So it gives you lots of options, and you don't have to use these fibers to ply with it. You can find anything else that you find anywhere, but it gives you options. So that's what we're going to do in the class. So I'm really hoping that lots of you register and we get it all filled up and we have a whole bunch of new spinners. Oh, I forgot one other thing I was going to tell you. I'm going to bring some of my spindles, my drop spindles, so you can see other options. And I keep my spindles in Scotch containers because why not? So I need to get the yarn off of these, but these are 2 different styles of a top whorl spindle. This one I just had to have because it's cool, because he's taken pencil crayons and he's turned them into that. And I can explain as well some of the physics, because if you notice, it's not solid, it's sort of hollow right inside there. And this one has a hollowness on the top. So I can explain some of the physics behind why that works and why that's important and how it changes your spindle when it's designed like that. Those 2. These ones are 2 different versions of a silk spindle. I've got all kinds of fibers stuck to it here. So, and they work very similarly, but it's the way they're weighted. This one's a little heavier than this one, and the heavier it is, it's almost like on a spinning wheel where you have more draw in for people that are used to using a spinning wheel. The heavier the draw and the finer the yarn you're going to make. So this kind of works similar to that. It just has a lot of weight, and it's really surprising that we use this and you end up just making this ridiculously fine yarn on this spindle. So it's something that people can try. And what's that? Oh, and these other couple. These ones are called Akas. They're also a drop spindle. So the whorl is in the middle. Instead of at the top or the bottom, it's in the middle. So that's another thing that people can try and see what they think like about spinning one from that like that. And then of course, my favorites. Little Turkish spindles, which I know they look like jacks. And these are baby ones because I carry spindles in my purse, because why would you not carry a spindle in your purse, right? So these are 2 that I've carried around all over the place, and the makers have such beautiful wood choices as well that they make out of them. I mean, they're so pretty. And then they're small enough I can carry them. And I have another kind of can. I carry things in cans so I don't break my spindle, because note, do not leave a spindle like this in your bag by a door, because you'll step on it Ask me how I know that. And then you'll break the shaft and then you'll cry. And then you'll have to go back to the maker and say, this is what I did. I was very bad. Can you make me another shaft? And I had a new one made for the spindle. So anyway, and this one actually has a really cool little trick to it. The other ones you have to wind off onto another ball to get the yarn off. And we'll talk about different ways and different options on how to do that. This one's kind of fun. It's like a little toy, a gadget toy. If you take the shaft out, even after you've got yarn wound on, you take one arm out and then you can pull this one out and you'll have a little center pull ball that you've created of your single. That's what's fun about Turkish spindles. And I really should stop saying Turkish spindles. I'm going to call them cross arm spindles because I don't know that it's correct to call something like this from someone else's nationality. So, but it's a cross arm spindle. And that's, like I said, it's one of my favorite ones to spin with. Mostly because I like gadgets and I like that I can pull the arms out and I get a little ball at the end. So I have something else that's kind of fun that I think some people who are taking another class, who I really recommend you should take this class, that I think you might like, especially if you're a spinner taking this class. So Annika from Dragon Strings is teaching a class on color theory. And she's a great teacher, and I would highly recommend you taking her class if you want learn a little bit more about blending colors and putting colors together. Well, I kept searching around because I'm a bit of a color zealot like she is, and I'm very particular about the colors. So I had actually searched these out for the Master Spinner program, but I created smaller bundles as well of the best colors I can find for the actual primaries. These are the closest I can find to cyan, magenta, and yellow. And I haven't used these ones yet to do my own color study, but I'm going to be doing that. And then I can post the results on our Instagram so you can see what I got from these ones. But these are the closest, and I think you'll get the clearest, purest colors from these. So if you want to do your own little color study, you can grab one of these bundles and then play with blending the fibers to get orange. Blend these to get an interesting purple. You can blend green. The green will be stunningly beautiful between these two. So
That is so cool. Thank you so much for sharing that, Elena.
you're welcome. And I have this guy that I had this at Olds, and everybody thinks, why did she make them look like a sheep? Did she know she made them look like a sheep? It's like, no, it's just how I held the braids. So if you want to do a value study, you can do this one. So they're both merino, the same amounts of black and white. But if you any of the visual artists out there who've done that work where you have to do a value scale from all white to all black and all the shades in between, you can use this to do it. And instead of using your pencil to try and figure out how dark can I make this, and then you get frustrated because the middle is always almost the same color gray, like I always do when I do those color scales, this you can do by using math and just weigh out exactly the percentages you want. And then you can get a grayscale all the way up. And it's, again, it's a fun exercise to do. And then you can learn a whole lot about different values. So.
I love this. This is like what you just, those two things, like that was like art 101
Yes.
in university,
Yes.
except instead of with paint tubes, I'm using fiber.
Yes. Yeah. So I like I said, I'm a bit of a color theory nut, right? So when I first started painting many years ago, I'm also a visual artist as well. So a painter and a fiber artist. I studied a bunch of color theory, and I bought this really great book where he didn't use the traditional primaries, which are red, royal blue, and yellow. He used cyan, magenta, and yellow. And I was so doubting. I was like, yeah, mix red, show me mixing red. And I turned the page. I was like, he mixed red. And I'm like, I still don't believe that. So then I had to go get my own paint and mix red. And I can mix red using juice. I have all the things because one day I wanted to make a juice and I wanted to mix red. And so I had like a mango, which is a really good replacement for the yellow. It's a little bit orangey, but it's, if you're trying to get red, that's okay. And then there's some really good juices that are very purpley, kind of magenta-like. You mix enough of them together, you mix enough of that magenta color into it, and you'll get a beautiful red. And I wanted to do it because I was making an interesting drink for Halloween that had lychee nuts with the blueberries in for like eyes, and I wanted it to look like it was floating in blood, but a sweet drink. So I couldn't use tomato juice. That's why I did that, because I'm just a little bit odd like that, and I like to do strange things. So and then when we got to school and I was mixing, we had to do exercises in Master Spinner on blending fibers. And I found it quite remarkable that the experience on blending fibers is the same experience as blending paint. Just the pigment size is just a different size. It's this long, skinny fibers instead of little tiny particles of paint that are suspended in something, which is what paint is, right? And even when you start dyeing things, it's almost a similar thing, because you can start with those primary dyes and they attach to the dye site on the fiber. And if you have the different quantities of like a green and a yellow and a cyan dye, you'll get different variants of greens along the color scale between the two. Again, it's another color theory, and that's almost at like a microscopic level kind of thing. It's quite fascinating that color theory works across a whole lot of different ranges. So once you learn a little bit about color theory, you can really start using that to manipulate and play with things. Weavers use it. Weavers, when they have warp and wefts that are different colors, you can use it to get a whole bunch of color ranges across a woven garment. And it's stunning. That's one I've sort of started dabbling in weaving a little bit. And that's one thing I've been like dying to get my hands into, is weaving a color range across it, because I think they're so interesting in doing a color study just in a plain weave. So
Yeah, that's so cool. So with blending, like if someone was to get those 3 colors or to get the black and white,
mhm.
would they do that with like hand cards or like a blending board? Like what would you suggest?
I would suggest hand cards.
Okay.
Now, I don't have them here. Hand cards can be expensive. Again, I'm always trying to figure out ways that things can be less expensive for people. So of all the things I found on Amazon, unfortunately, they're made of plastic, so that kind of makes me less happy, but it's something affordable for people. There are slicker brushes you can get for dogs, but they have curved slicker brushes. And these ones are about this big and this tall. So they're narrower and smaller than a hand card, but you can buy 2 of them for $30 off Amazon. And I don't like to advertise for Amazon. I don't like to tell you go buy plastic. But also, if you want to play with this and can't afford hand cards, because hand cards can cost almost $100, and I know that's expensive for a lot of people, I just want you to be able to play with this and practice this. And you get little tiny blends on them, so little tiny bats that you blended together on there, and then you can spin them.
That's awesome. Yeah. And then if you're wanting to like graduate up, then the hand cards. Do you
Right.
offer them? Like, are you a dealer for any of the equipment companies or?
Not
Not so
yet.
much.
That's one of the things I've been
No.
looking into, and I just haven't been able to find quite the right one yet. And so we're just looking around. My husband and I have talked about making our own as well. So at some point in the future, I'm not sure exactly when we're going to be doing this, but I'm still looking around and figuring that out. So
Okay. Sorry, I took you down a total rabbit hole.
no, that's okay. That's totally fine. There was another thing I forgot to mention earlier when I was talking about the wool box. So one of the things I plan to do is I want to develop a class over the winter that will be ready to go in the spring sometime, where we actually do this in person. We get not just 4 different types of wools, a bunch of different types of wools, like many kinds of wools, and we can experiment and see how they all differ from one another, ones that aren't merino and ones that aren't BFL. And we'll probably have some in the room so you can at least see the difference between them. But we'll go and do an exploration of all these different wools. And what will be really great if I could also find some fleeces of some of the same wools, and then we can look at, this is what it's like when it's commercially processed. This is what it's like when you get some washed raw fleece. So that's a class I'm looking at developing. So if any of you out there are interested in having a class like that, let us know, and we'll make sure that something is available for you soon in the future. So
Yeah, very awesome. And you sent me a link to something seasonal.
oh, the 12 days?
Mhm.
Oh, yes, I did have one here. So we have 4 left. So we've had the pre-orders out since mid-September. We have 4 left of this box. So, and I can open the box and show you what it looks like, but you're not going to get what you think. It's not going to be a big surprise. So it starts with a card at the front. And to me, this is what this box is all about. So before I show you too much more, it's not an advent calendar one. It's on purpose to be a 12 days of Christmas box. So traditionally, the 12 days start on Christmas Day, and it lasts between if you know anything about when we switched our calendars from the Julian to the Gregorian calendar, some of the countries switched a lot later. So there's actually 12 days between their Christmas and our Christmas because their calendar just shifted so much time between when we switched to the Gregorian and they switched to it. So that's often called a period called the 12 days of Christmas. So this is intended to start on Christmas Day. And the reason I didn't want to do an Advent calendar is because everyone is so busy all through December. And I didn't want to add another task to your list because you're already busy looking for gifts, looking for presents, shopping for decorations, shopping for what you want to make and create for Christmas presents, what you want to make and create for dinners and other kinds of entertainments, and just going out and visiting with people. That's a lot already. And then if I give you an Advent calendar, now you have to add that. And then people start feeling stressed because now they're getting behind on it. Now they got to do 3, now they got 5, now they're behind by a week and a half. And I just didn't want to do that to people. So once Christmas Day hits, all that's over and it's all behind you, and you can just sit and kick back and relax. So then you can start with this and have 12 days of spinning. So I'll show you what you see when you open it. You see all these little bundles in here. And these are the bags I was talking about that I got certified. And you can take those bags and you can reuse them for something else, which would make me so happy if you reuse it for other things. And so each of the bags will contain some fibers. So I'll grab day one, and I'm not opening the bag because I don't want anyone who's bought the ticket to spoil their surprise. So I'll be posting starting Christmas on everything that's in every bag. So 12 of the bags have little bats. Some of them are little bats, some of them are bigger bats. And then 4 of the days have braids in it. So similar to like this little half-size braid, that kind of an idea. But all of them were specially designed for this box. None of them are anywhere on our website or we're selling anywhere until after this. We'll have some leftovers of some things that'll be selling afterward. Day 12, though, that's the exciting day. You get a full-size bath. But not only is it a full-size bat, it's like a 1.5 times size bat. Because when I was weighing them, I made a mistake and it's just way too big. So it's a 90-gram bat. And I didn't even know I could get a 90-gram bat off of a drum carder. So I learned something. And I decided, it's Christmas. People are having a hard time this year. So let's just have a nice big fun bat to spin on the last day. So, so that's what this box is all about. So there's 4 left. And you can pre-order still on our website for pickup at the Frolic, because I already have a few people that are doing that. So if anybody else wants one, there's only 4. And once they're gone, they'll be gone until next year. And I'll make another one next year. So.
Well, that's super fun. I've never really been into Advents. I think for that same, like you said, it's like, oh, it's so much pressure. And then I get behind and then but
Yeah,
I like
and
that.
yeah,
Take the pressure out. It would be more fun.
exactly. And the whole thing is for spinning to be fun. Is spinning is like work. It's like, then why are we doing it, right? Because we used to have to do spinning for jobs because that's the only way we had clothing, was someone had to actually make the yarn in order to make clothing so that we could weave things, we could knit things. So we had to have people spin. But since the advent of the Industrial Revolution in the Western countries, because there's still some of the other countries, non-Western countries, where that still is a job for people, but here it's not our job anymore because we have machines that do it all for us. We do it for the joy and the pleasure of it. So why do we want to make it into work? That just makes me sad, so. And you can do what I do. I start spinning on my spinning wheel while I'm watching TV, and eventually you'll be able to spin so you don't have to look at your hands anymore. And I just watch it. And my friends all tell me, yeah, your spinning wheel keeps mesmerizing and hypnotizing you, because I start falling asleep. So, and literally, there's so many times I've been sitting spinning at my wheel and I'm like nodding off, and it's like, whoa, I'm falling asleep again. It's the wheel going round and round in front of me while I'm watching the TV. I don't know what it is. So.
I know. My first spinning wheel was a gift from my husband's aunt, and it was like handmade, and the thing rattled like crazy. I still have it. It's beautiful. but yeah, it rattled like crazy. It made so much noise. My husband would always be like, can you stop? Because I was been in the middle of the night after everybody went to bed. He's like, can you stop? You woke me up again. But
I'm sure there's stuff
but
you could do to fix it, but
yes, probably. But I didn't know anybody at
Right.
the time. I thought like nobody else in the world loves spinning except me because, I was just like, I'm a crazy person. But but yeah, I just absolutely loved the feel of like because I could just use my foot to make this thing make yarn. I
Mm.
was like, this is magic. Like this is truly magic.
And that's why I do so much spinning. And although I want to make stuff with the yarn I make, I just don't get round to it because I'm just get distracted. It's like, oh, I haven't done that yarn. Oh, that's another yarn I haven't spun before. It's like I just keep wanting to sit and spin all the time. And I don't have to think very hard about it either. If I'm spinning to a specific characteristics, I have to think hard and concentrate on that. But if I'm just spinning just for the pleasure of spinning, I could just turn the TV on and try not to fall asleep and watch something while I just spin and let my hands move in front of me. I don't have to think very hard. Even things like when people knit and crochet, because I know how to knit and crochet, although I've crocheted since I was a kid. I'm a very rudimentary knitter, but you have to think more than I do when I have to spin. So sometimes I just don't want to think very much and I can just spin.
Find there have been a few times I've made cable plied yarns
Hmm.
with like the 4 strands.
Yeah.
And I sometimes it's the joy of just making the yarn.
Yes.
I have no idea what I'm going to do with that yarn. It's just the joy of making the yarn.
Yes. Yeah,
And
that's
just
totally
seeing
true.
like,
Yeah. There's
like
all of those upcycled yarns that I had put on that are basically like scraps I have from the drum carder that I saved. And one ply of them is the scraps, and the other 2 is blue face luster that I've just plied together. And it just gives me so much joy just having it made because I'm using up waste. It's this beautiful yarn. It's so lofty and squishy because of the BFL, and I could just sit and squish it. And I just love the yarn, and I'm just so happy about it.
yeah, it's just something fun to look at, right? Like,
Yes.
yeah. Um, my niece kind of thinks well, lots of people think it's funny. My sister actually kind of rathers me a bit that I must be very privileged that I have an entire closet just of yarn.
Don't tell them how much fiber I have.
Yeah.
or, or how many spindles I have. Like, shh.
Tammy's just laughing that she falls asleep spinning too.
See, that's what happens. Yeah.
It's mesmerizing. Yeah, in a different way, I think, because you're using your feet too, right?
Yep.
Do you have an e-spinner? I've never used. It's almost like I don't trust an e-spinner.
So I don't have one. I'm going to get one so that I have more information on talking to people, because any of the classes I teach, you're happy to bring your e-spinner with it, except for the spinning one, because we're specifically talking about spindle spinning. But any spinning class, people are happy to bring, like I'm happy if they bring their e-spinner as well, because then we can talk about how you do the same things, same techniques on your e-spinner versus that, because not everyone is able to do treadling because they have joint issues or other pain issues that the treadling is just really painful for them. And so just doing the e-spinner is fine. And so I've tried e-spinners, and the thing I found really interesting is that the experience for me on the drafting and the spinning is just no different than using a spinning wheel with treadles. I'm just not using my feet. And I think because it's just such an automatic action for me with my feet that I just don't even notice that I'm not using my feet. I can just draft with my hands and sit and relax and do that.
Got it. Okay, so I'm just a Luddite. I need to get over it.
No, you're not a Luddite. Because I listen to Kalia and I totally agree with her explanation, because I also used to be a computer geek, and a Luddite is not a technophobe.
Okay.
A Luddite is a person who is mad because their jobs are getting taken away because of industrialization, right? And they weren't training people. They weren't putting trained people and paying them well. So it's basically no different than job action today, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, because I don't know. I probably just need to see an e-spinner in action. That's the thing. I haven't seen an e-spinner in action. So I just have these visions of like an e-spinner just eating up all of my fiber and breaking things. That's
You can change the speed that it draws it in, the speed that's at turning at, and how hard it's drawing in. And that will, it's just like your wheel. I mean, it's going to draw in at a certain speed, right? And if it draws in really heavy, then you're just it's going to like get away from you, and it's going to keep falling apart. All right. That happens all the time to beginners. So you want to have a lighter draw in. The same with an e-spinner. You can set them up that way as well. She sells them at Joe's Fiber Garden, and she has them on site that I think you can go and try them out if you want to store. I think she has them. Usually she does. In the past she has. So it's an opportunity to try one of the different, there's many vendors of them. And so she has one vendor. So.
okay. Well, then she's going to be at the Fiber Frolic, and I know Erin with Lillian Pine is going to have her Spinolution wheels, which
Great.
Spinolution is that I have, other than my handmade little wheel, my Spinolution wheel sitting right there. That's my baby, my very big baby. So yeah, I know for sure we will have some wheels on site for people to try, as well as, I know, like you said, you'll have the spindles. Will you have spindles in your booth as well, or just in the workshop?
So we don't have any of these yet, because I only have enough for the workshop. But I would like to start selling these eventually, but we will have little spindles called tacklies, and I'll have those available. So those are a supported spindle, and they're a really fast spinner. So you want to use those for short fibers or things that you want to spin and get a lot of twist in them really quickly. So they're not a beginner spindle. I would not recommend it for a beginner to learn on, but they'll be there for people who want to explore and see what spinning on a tackle is like, because we sell easy to spin cotton. So we'll have cotton there, and then people pick up a tackle in the cotton, and they go together, so you can spin them together if you wanted. Even the fiber like the yak, because yak is really short fibers, so you can use it to spin yak if you want to spin it by hand. The one thing about it is, because it's a smaller spindle, you don't want to spin really big heavy yarns on it because it's so tiny. I mean, you'll get maybe this much on it, and then it'll be too full, and you can't do it. And you don't want to spin just that much and then wind it off and then spin this. You want to spin a decent length, right? That's why I usually want to spin something very fine on it. So spinning maybe some silk even on it, that you can just give a really quick flick to get a lot of twist in it quickly. Spinning short fibers like cotton, that kind of thing. Even cashmere, you might be able to get away with that. It has a bit more loft than cotton, but I haven't really tried that on a tackly, but I'll have to experiment with some of the other short fibers and see what I think about it on a tackly. But
okay, have you spun Kiviute on it? Because Kiviute is another fiber that will be there at the Fiber
Yes.
Frolic. Have you spun
I haven't
Kiviute?
actually spun any Kiviute before, and only because I just haven't had the time yet to go down to Nisku and go buy some from Kiviute Inc.
You need to. Tannis is amazing.
I do, I know, and I spoke to her before a year ago at the Fiber Frolic and said, "Can you make me like a half bundle size of it?" And that, but yeah, so I just haven't had a chance to go out there because I really want to go out there. I don't just want to buy some from Red Front. I'm going to go out there and see what they do, because it's just so amazing what they do out there. So, and I'm particularly excited that it's an Indigenous run business as well. That makes me really excited about that. So,
Yeah, and she just, like, every bit of it has got so much Indigenous tradition built into what she does.
right. And I think that's fantastic. So yeah, I see the question. So no, he doesn't spin. He's a sculptor actually by trade, and he actually probably couldn't have been able to see this the whole time. He actually sculpted this. He doesn't like this one, but this is like one of my favorites. And I said, I need to keep this one because it's a nice big chunky one, and I really love it, this pendant. So he's done little pendants like this, although this is big, I guess, for a pendant, but little sculptures that you can wear like pendants. And I think of them as like this really unique thing that you can wear these little sculptures on, and he does big, massive, monumental size sculptures. And so that's his art that he does. So he doesn't spin. He understands the principles. We talk a lot about wool because I talk a lot about wool and spinning and things like that. So he knows a lot about different things, and he can recognize the plant fiber just by the feel of it. He knows a plant fiber from a protein fiber. So, and he'll go, like, unlike most people, he also knows the difference between a llama and an alpaca, because most people don't understand that, or don't recognize, llama versus alpaca, right?
Okay, who else? What did he say? Yeah, that's fun. Yeah. Okay, I think I got all of your links into where can people find you? Like the best place on social media to find you?
Instagram.
Instagram. Okay. And your handle is just 2timesinfinity, right?
That's right. All lowercase, no spaces.
Right.
Yeah, if you follow us there, that's where I publish most of all the new stuff and all the things that we're doing is on Instagram. And I cross post to Facebook, but not all of the stories and the videos and the reels, they don't all carry across to Facebook. So you'll get the richest content on Instagram. So I apologize to all the Facebook users who aren't going to get as much information. Eventually, I'm going to be start a newsletter, like an email newsletter to people can still, in case something happens to Instagram and it doesn't exist anymore. So you can subscribe to that. I just haven't had a chance to do it because life just gets so busy. So, but I will probably most likely announce that on Instagram as well and on our website and have some links on there so you can subscribe to things. So.
Ginger's Nap is saying, you're making me want to learn how to spin, but I just can't. No time. Like, it's a common theme among us fiber artists, eh?
See, that's why you have these ones, because you can put them in your purse. And then while you're sitting waiting for an appointment for someone, waiting to catch the bus, waiting for your own appointments, waiting anywhere, you can just take it out and start spinning little bits of fiber on these. So that's why I have hand spindle. And then lots of people will come up and ask you what you're knitting.
I know, hey,
Yeah.
it's the same thing. Crochet, spinning, like Davida, you
Weaving.
have to, like, if you're ever crocheting in public, right? Like it's always, what are you knitting, right?
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah, I know it's quite funny.
But I'm not knitting. Knitting, you need two. I'm just one.
Yeah.
I'm knitting. Yeah, always.
Well,
Always.
one of the most interesting encounters, I was actually on the one I just made like this, because I like to have something like this. It's really inexpensive when I travel, because who knows what they're going to take away from you. This has got a metal hook on the top. It's going to have metal. It might go off in a airport, so they're going to confiscate it, right? This is no metal in it. So I had like a rudimentary one that I just made quickly because I was going somewhere and I wanted to take this with me. And I was spinning it somewhere while I was waiting for a friend in the hospital and just working away at it. And a woman came up to me, and her origins, she's originally from, I can't remember which country she said, in Africa, but she said, I remember my mom used to use one of those all the time. And everywhere she went, she would walk, because she would walk around everywhere spinning on a drop spindle just like this. And I thought that was so cool. And it's really interesting that there are people that I meet people in their families or in their past or their childhood that they encountered spinners, and me spinning in public like that reminds them of that, and they just want to watch the yarn being created. So yeah,
that's super cool.
Yeah, it's really cool when that happens.
Super cool. This has really been such an education for me. I've been telling Holly this whole week that I'm just learning so much, and this has truly been an education for me. So thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome. I'm happy to share. I love to share with people anything they want to know about wool and yarn and spinning, and so everyone else can get as infected as me.
Yeah, I've been learning so much this week too. And I mean, I know obviously I've been pulling you guys all together for the most part, and it's still, I've been learning so much. Every time I talk to you, I learn something, Yolanda.
Oh,
thank you so
you.
much. So yeah, okay, there's one more comment here that I can only see part of it, and it's, okay. Leanna from Craft to Go says, I have a drop spindle and a bath, and I have not had a chance to try it. Okay, that must have been a typo. A drop spindle and a bath?
A bat. Like this.
Bat.
Yeah.
That makes more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, bat. Yes, she got them from the soiree over the summer.
Great.
Yeah, so it was the poppy bat that you made.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, a drop spindle and a bath.
And did she have a question, or she just?
No, she's just commenting that she
Okay.
has no time, but she really wants to learn to spin. And she and Ginger Snap were like, yeah, we should take a course. But obviously they're both vendors. They're not going to be able to
Right.
take your course this weekend.
But you know
Yeah.
what? I teach online too. And we could easily do an online class, just get a few people together. If anyone lives local, we could just go hang out at like Yarn Divas, come out to St. Albert and hang out at Yarn Divas, and we could just sit there and have some tea and some of their yummy little squares and things like that that they have there. Just sit and relax and just hang out with spindles and spin away. So
That's a really good idea. Okay, Ilana, thank you so much. Okay,
welcome.
someone's commenting online is a really good idea. So yeah, your classes link that I put in the chat there, you need to
Mhm.
populate that with an online schedule so people can register for an online class.
Okay, I don't have a schedule. It's sort of just a virtual, like when there's enough people, get a few people together and we'll set up a schedule that fits whatever your time you have, daytime, evening, whatever I can meet, whatever needs you have. So
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Ilana.
you're welcome.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.
All right. So, Deviter,
Yes, darling.
we have our next guest here ready to join us. And I'm very excited about this guest.
Excited.
Yeah. Do you know her already?
I know her because I follow her all the time. I know her because she is a furls crochet aficionado. I know her because I own this book. So when I saw her name, I was like, oh my God, we get to talk to Coco Lee. I'm so excited. So I am really, really excited to hang out with you this afternoon. Hello.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm doing so well. How are you, Davida?
Doing well. I cannot complain. One of the young ladies, Erin, was doing a trunk show earlier today, and she was talking about using your Harry Potter patterns. She's working on, she's working. I was like, I hope she continues to watch because Lee is going to be hanging out with us. I didn't want to, throw it up online, but oh my goodness, Lee, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us. Holly, amazing that you were able to get her to come and chat with us. I'm sure everybody watching is very familiar with who you are and what you do, but just for the sake of those who might not, would you mind introducing yourself to the audience, letting them know who you are and what you do?
Sure. So I am missing the pink hair. The pink hair is all gone.
You are.
Yeah. Back to my original color, but I'm Lee, Lee Sartori from Coco Crochet Lee. I'm a crochet and knitwear designer, among other things. So I like to make amigurumi, which is stuffed animals, and blankets and all kinds of things. Davida, you showed my first book, which is a modern guide to textured crochet. So it's a stitch dictionary. That was my first published book. And then you also mentioned my Harry Potter book, which is Harry Potter Crochet Wizardry. And I also have 2 more books coming after Christmas that will be released. The first one is in February and the next one is in April.
That's so exciting. When did you start crocheting? When did you start this whole journey with crafts, fiber arts?
I went to university for visual arts and communications, so kind of like advertising, and I was making huge paintings and big drawings with chalk and very messy. And then I had my first child, and it was kind of really difficult to have all of those oil painting materials and everything out all the time with a little baby at home in a little apartment. We lived in a really small apartment. So I kind of was looking for something else to do that was crafty. And I found a local shop was doing crochet lessons. So I decided to give it a try. And I loved it. I loved that, yarn and crocheting kind of gives you the same creative opportunities as painting does. And I really took to it. So it was easier to kind of keep yarn and crochet hooks in our little apartment with a baby
Yeah.
and be able to put it away again. So I just kept doing it, and I finished school and I started working in the industry. So from there, I just decided to design patterns and do all of the crochet stuff.
Holly and I were talking earlier this week about how children are the things that had pushed us both into crochet.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, like it's amazing what really ignites that fire, even though you already have that crafty side of you. So that is so cool. I did not know that story. I didn't know that was the reason why you began crocheting. So you crochet, you knit. What else do you do? You paint. What else do you do?
I I guess a couple of my other hobbies aside from crocheting and knitting. I've started learning how to do lettering, so almost like calligraphy. So that's been really fun. In the pandemic, I started doing my own nails, so that's been a really good creative outlet. Just something stupid, but I love doing them. It's really fun.
Oh, they look super cool too. I
Thank
love
you.
it.
And
I love
then
it.
yeah, right. They're fun. And then my other side hobby is I really love like thrifting for vintage items. So I'm a huge thrifter.
So cool. I do remember seeing, some of your posts with your vending items, and you're
Yeah.
picking up really interesting pieces. So
Mhm.
that's super cool. I just enjoy everything that you put out. Your social media is so much fun and so engaging. You're
Oh,
doing
thank you.
a dang up job on TikTok. I'm like, okay. I love it. I think it's just so inspiring, to let people know the creativity runs deep. So that's super cool. Super,
Thank
super.
you so much. I really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah. Is there anything in particular that you want to share with the audience? Anything that you're like, people need to know about blank? What is that? What is that thing that people need to know?
That's so hard. I think, well, okay, so I guess one of the common misconceptions if people don't know me is that my name is Coco. And it's not. That's actually my son. He's 10, and his name is Conan. And much like Conan O'Brien, the comedy host, we called him Coco when he was little. So that's where the name comes from. So a lot of people think that my name is Coco, which is kind of funny. But aside from that, yeah, I really enjoy what I do for a living, and I have a lot of fun with it. And it's actually just been completely amazing. We were able to put my son through, or sorry, put my husband through university while I was crocheting. So it's been
What?
really amazing. Yeah, my husband, when we had our children, he had never graduated university. He had dropped out. And it had always been one of his biggest regrets. He wanted to go to school so bad, but it was really difficult with little kids to try and swing it. And I put everything I could into what I do. And I was able to pay for our small family of 4, our life for those several years while he went back to school. And he graduated from university in mathematics. It'll be a year in April that he has been done. So, and then we moved to Halifax because he got a job with the Canadian government right out of school. So it's been really cool.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
My goodness. So does he help you count up your stitches when you're making up your patterns?
Yeah, sometimes I come to him and I have a problem with like planning ahead in a decrease section, and I'll say, okay, like I have 17 rows to work with and I need to get rid of, X amount of stitches. Like what's the decrease sequence? And he'll help me out with it. It's really fun.
I love it. I love it. That's super, super cool. Holly, what questions do you have? Because I could just keep on asking questions.
Oh man, I know oh man, so many questions. Of course, of course I want to know about, because I've been so immersed in preparation for the Fiber Frolic, but I didn't even realize until recently, you taught for PBS, or you still teach for PBS?
Yeah, I was on the PBS television show. It's also on Create TV. So PBS and
Okay.
Create TV. but it was a show called it is currently going on. It's a show called Knit and Crochet Now.
Okay.
And I was on it for 3 years in a row, and then the pandemic hit. And because I'm Canadian, the borders shut for me. So yeah, so I couldn't go back, and then I moved to Halifax, which is completely across the country. So I haven't gone back since the pandemic, but it was an absolute blast to go and be on TV with there was Ron Strong and Lena Spargerson, and Connie Ellison and Britt Schmiesing. Tony Lipsy from TL Yarn Crafts was with us. It was such a great time, and then the pandemic, really shook things up for everybody. So, but it was wonderful.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's so cool how people are bringing crochet and knitting and all the fiber arts really to the world and making it top of mind. Like, it's not an afterthought anymore. I don't know about you guys, but when I watch television and I see something crochet, I just yell out, "Hey, that's crochet!" And my kids are like, "Hey, weird lady." I'm like, "No, but that's crochet. That's a crochet blanket. That's a crochet top." And, it's really having an emergence again. And I'm really excited about that with people like you, the way you use colors and your creativity. What made you do the Harry Potter book?
So the Harry Potter book was really interesting. It came about, they asked me to do it, which was really nice. I had been a huge fan since I was a little kid. And when my kids were growing up, I read them the books. So I read my child, Emma Noel, a lot of the Harry Potter books. I think we actually read all of them, starting from when they were about 9 years old, 10 years old. And they're a teenager now, they're going to be 15. And we started working on it several years ago, and it's been out for a year on top of that. So this is going back, a handful of years at least that we worked on the Harry Potter book. And it was an absolute pleasure to work on. The staff at Warner Brothers is amazing, very kind people, very open-hearted people. They know my editor, and like the team at Warner Brothers knew that my child is actually trans. So, and that was a big part of kind of the process was, with Harry Potter comes, some problematic things. And we were able to kind of create a piece of work that included BIPOC makers and, LGBTQ plus makers. And I myself I am LGBTQ plus as well. And on top of that, my teenager is trans. So we were able to kind of create this space with Harry Potter and with the creative team and make it super duper fun and make it inclusive and make it everything that we had hoped to see in the fandom. So it was such a pleasure. And my teenager kind of, it was really awesome to be able to create that for them and see them be able to continue feeling safe as a fan and continue to find that love that we had, reading the books when they were little and going to Universal Studios and going on all the Harry Potter rides and, just all of that stuff. And we were able to kind of create that safe space for Emma Noel where they continue to be a Harry Potter fan even to this day. So that's kind of the change we wanted to make. And it's a really small change. And obviously it doesn't impact the whole Warner Brothers band as a whole. But for this one little Harry Potter crochet title that we were able to kind of, put our best effort into, we put our best effort into it. So
that's cool. Kudos to you guys. Yeah, kudos to you guys making that happen. So every little bit helps.
Yeah.
I'm a believer that every little bit helps. So that's
so true.
Yeah, that's awesome. Does Emma Noel crochet?
Yes, actually, it was actually this past week in Halifax, Nova Scotia, where we live. It was Take Your Child to Work Day. So my husband works for the government, which means Noel couldn't go with him to work because all of his information on his screens is private information. So Noel had to come to work with me, which is home, which is, just basically my office. But so for the day, they helped me do a live with We Crochet. So they were on a live video with the We Crochet company. They made an amigurumi frog. So they started the pattern like from the morning and finished it at 4 o'clock when we were done. They helped me make a TikTok. So
Oh,
it was a really good day. And I kind of showed them, you know, things that we had to do throughout the day. So I had to hand in a design brief. We had to troubleshoot with some emails and things like that. So it was a pretty good learning experience for them too, I think. And their frog was really cute.
oh, did you post the frog?
We did an Instagram reel and a TikTok, and they show the frog. Yeah.
Okay, I have to go and check it out because I may have missed that. I love Amy, so that's super cool. So you said you do Amy, you do blankets, you do this, you just do all the things and then you design them. When did you start designing? Like you went to that baby and you were like, we can't have all the paint and stuff in the house, and I'm just gonna go and crochet. And then you became who you are, and I just need to know more.
What's the steps?
Yeah.
I think what happened was I would make something and then everyone would be really excited about it in my friends and family, just like local, you know, like your friends and family group. And then somebody would say, okay, but can you make X, Y, and Z? You know, like, okay, I see you made like a bunny, but how about a tiger? Or like, I see you made this kind of character. What about this character? And then I'd be like, I wonder if I could. And I would just give it a go. And it just kind of went from there where it was, I wonder if I could make this, and then just keep trying until you get it.
I love it. But then you started writing the patterns.
Yeah, so I just did my own patterns on Ravelry and Etsy. And then I started working for Happily Hooked magazine. And so I started writing. I actually got so much crochet knowledge just from being on the team. From at the time, it was Danielle Pink and Emily Truman were the editors, and they were such amazing teachers in terms of tech editing and pattern writing and consistency and just basically just a whole wealth of crochet knowledge that I kind of got from them. And also Selena Baca was a huge one. She was on the team at the time as well. And I just learned so much from them, and it was a lot. It was a huge learning curve actually to go from just being kind of like a beginner crocheter to, you know, tech editing and being on a design team and things like that. So I just started kind of making my own patterns and submitting them to Emily and Danielle and seeing like if they would accept it. And eventually they did. They started accepting things into the magazine, and everything kind of snowballed from there.
So the lesson that I'm hearing from you, because you know, I always got to have some kind of education,
Sure.
is just to try it.
Yeah.
Right. So
I'm actually a big proponent of that. If you
just try it.
Just try it, and if it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out. And I also try to tell my teenager Noelle, Noelle gets in this mindset that they have to be good at something immediately, and if they're not immediately super good at it, then it's disheartening and they don't want to do it. But they're learning how to play the flute, for example. In learning a musical instrument, much like crocheting or knitting, is something that you have to keep practicing at. It's not something that you can just pick up and start crocheting this amazing thing, or picking up a flute and play, you know, a beautiful song immediately. You have to learn the keys, you have to learn the scales, you have to learn, and same with crochet, you have to learn how to hold it, you have to learn how to do tension, you have to learn the beginning stitches. But it's one of those arts that if you put enough practice into it, it becomes worth it, you know, like the things that you can do with it. It's worth all of that time and effort of trying. So I try to do things even if I'm not exactly sure how it's going to work out. I give it a go anyway.
Just keep trying, people. If you are dyeing yarn and the first batch comes out horribly, just keep trying. And then you know, there are people who, like you, Lee, who have posted things, videos and tutorials, and like what you were doing with PBS. And there are so many different avenues for us to learn these different crafts. And once you learn the basics, flip it on its head, like turn it upside down and do something completely out of the box, but just try it. So thank you for, realizing that you couldn't have oil paint around the baby and go ahead and crocheting, because if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have this amazing talent before us. So
Oh, wow, thank you.
yeah, I'm grateful. It's every little step, right? Every little step that we take on our journey leads us to somewhere spectacular and somewhere unexpected.
Yeah.
But we always have to look back and be so grateful that people take that step. So thank you. Yeah. Do we have any questions or comments, Holly?
Just the one comment referring back to it was made when we were talking about Harry Potter. I'd pasted it into the comments here, just that that what you're doing with Harry Potter is amazing, that their daughter is in a trans relationship, and it's wonderful to see support for the stories of Harry Potter. And yeah, what you're doing is powerful, Lee.
Thank
Don't
you.
minimize it. What you're doing is very powerful.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's powerful to be able to take something that you love, and even though the creator of what you love is doing what she's doing, saying, no, you're not going to take what I love away from me.
Well, I feel like I'm obviously, I don't have much of a say in the trans community in that sense, but just from our own perspective and from our own little world, from our own little reality, living on a day-to-day basis with Emma Noel being trans, they get a lot of negativity just on a daily basis, from school people. They'll be walking to school. We had an incident this past summer where a group of kids yelled that they're an ugly tranny, and we had a whole thing with the school. And it happens on such a personal level on a daily basis, that because the creator of Harry Potter also kind of has those sentiments and things like that, it's a reality that Noelle has to live with on a daily basis for people that they know. They don't need a huge creator to be saying the same kind of things and to have to listen to that. So it's kind of we're trying to teach Noelle to take the power back for themselves and decide, like, you don't have to hate school because those kids were awful. You don't have to hate something because there's enough people that hate trans people that, if they had to back away from everything that felt negative, they would have nothing. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if that's the right words. I feel so I feel kind of like trepidous to talk about stuff like this, because again, my family is not a trans monolith. Like, we don't have the voice for the many. It's literally just our voice as what we know. So and what we know is, there's going to be hate from everywhere. So try to enjoy life as much as you can, and love the things that you love. And if you love some books, then and you get happiness from visiting the rides at Universal Studios, and you want to watch the movies, then find joy where you can, man, because it's hard. Like, there's enough negativity and sadness, really.
Yeah. Oh man, 100%. Yeah, that's so good, Lee. Thank you. You've said it so well.
I'm sure I didn't, but thank you. It's very difficult to kind of get the right words out when it's such a heavy topic.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we have a few minutes left, and I want everyone to know that, because I haven't even been able to post the sample pictures. I know you've posted reels, but I haven't been able to post the sample pictures of what people are going to make in the workshops.
Sure.
So I wanted everyone to be able to see what they're going to make in the workshops with you. So do you have the samples with you? I see one of them behind you.
3 of the classes with me. Just the only one that I'm missing is the cable one. It's not in my direct area. So I can show you the Tunisian scarf is on the mannequin behind me. So it's a Tunisian sampler scarf, which has the basic Tunisian stitch, the knit Tunisian stitch, and the pearl Tunisian stitch. And it's going to be in 3 colors. So hopefully you guys can see that a little bit, but there's better pictures on Instagram and Facebook. The next one that we're doing is an amigurumi workshop. So we're making little bunnies. And the bunny is so cute. I love it. It's adorable. So you'll need 2 colors of medium weight wool for this one. And it's going to be really fun to kind of learn, you know, the basics of amigurumi and how to do invisible decreases and shaping and sewing little pieces together and all of that fun stuff. And the other one that I have, I'm missing the cable scarf. Like I said, there's a cable class. But if you want to see photos of it, it's again on social media for you guys already. But the last workshop is Christmas ornaments. So there's 2 different options, or you can do both. There's a set of mittens that you can crochet, and I put some pins with Bonhomme Carnival on it that I found. But we're going to hang these on the tree this year. And there's also a snowflake ornament. If I can get it to fit. There we go. So there's a snowflake ornament that we're going to crochet, and it's using thread, and it's just a really pretty intricate one.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm jealous.
It's going to be really fun. I'm excited. I've gotten a lot of messages of people saying like, I'm in your class. I can't wait to meet you. And that's been very exciting for me.
Absolutely. So wish that I could be there.
Me too, Davina.
So wish. But one day I'm going to meet you in person. I'm going to meet Holly and all these other amazing designers and creators and spinners and wool shepherdess and all.
Have a big party.
Yes, I cannot wait. Really looking forward to it one day. But thank you so much for hanging out with us, Lee. I know the folks who are going to be in your class are going to be in for a treat. It's going to be
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm very excited. It's only a few days away, so I'm ready.
Yay! That's awesome. Good on you, Holly. Serious.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I was so delighted. I was like, man, it's a long shot, but I gotta ask if Lee will come out. Because that was after May, that was one of the biggest feedback things that I got. Because I had thought, well, I'm like, you can use yarn and all these materials for all kinds of things. And I still got the feedback that crocheters felt like it was still really heavy on the knitting. And I was like, okay, well then I'm just going to shoot for the stars and see if I can get Lee to come out. Good. So I was like, oh my God, she said yes.
I'm delighted. I'm so excited to come.
Yay. That's awesome.
I'm really excited to have you.
That's awesome.
Okay, so really quick, just to wrap up, Lee, I think everybody knows how to find you, but what's the best place for people to find you and connect with you if they're not going to be there at the Fiber Frolic?
Sure. So I'm most active on my Instagram. So it's at Coco Crochet Lee with dots in the middle. And then if you are looking to hang out on a weekly basis, we do a Facebook Live video every Wednesday night on my Facebook page where we all get together and crochet and chat. It lasts for about half an hour and there's all kinds of prizes. It's called Whip Wednesday. So if you wanted to join us this Wednesday, we'll be doing our live before I head to the Edmonton Fiber Frolic.
Ooh. So nice. So nice. Thank you again, Lee.
Thank you.
Yeah, this has been fabulous.
It's super great to hang out with both of you for sure.
Oh, yay. That makes me happy.
Yeah.
Happy. All right. We have our next trunk show person here.
Yeah, we do. Tammy with Numana Yarns.
Awesome. Oh, there she is.
There she is popping in. And Tammy is also a crocheter. I know her mom is a crocheter. I think she is too.
Cool. Well, I have to hop, but I'm sure it's going to be a fabulous trunk show and I will catch it later. Lee, thank you again for hanging out with us. And Tammy, so nice to see you. Your trunk show is going to be absolutely fabulous and I'm going to come and check it out later on. But I have a daughter who's complaining that she's dying. So she's not though, but you know, that's what's happening. So I have to go and see about her. But I'll see you guys again tomorrow for the next couple of hours of the virtual show. So bye-bye, everyone.
Bye, Lee. Thank you so much. Okay, Tammy, it's good to have you here.
On this very snowy day, I look outside and all I see is white and I don't like it.
I know. I'm in my basement, so I've been on here the whole time, so I haven't seen outside since 1 o'clock when everything started, but I know it's been kind of, I'm sure. Has it been snowing the whole time?
Let me look at my car. There's some snow on the car. I've been here for a few hours, so I've been dying today. The last of my dying before the frolic, you know.
Well, just as long as it's decent, or at least as long as we're all used to it by the weekend, you know. You know how it is, like nobody wants to go out that first time it snows. So at least we got the snow this weekend instead of next week.
We'll all be better drivers by next weekend.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll all remember how to drive in the winter.
Yes, exactly. That's what'll matter. So so I am very delighted to have you here. You know, being one of our premier sponsors. Thank you very, very much for supporting the Edmonton Fiber Frolic the way you do. You started out as a dyer in response to the pandemic, right? Because you were a travel agent, and that was one of those jobs that was like, well, that doesn't really exist anymore.
Yeah, I was a pretty new travel agent too. So it's not like I had like hundreds of clients that were just like, they had trips booked and, you know, I'm trying to sort out details or anything. I think I had like 2 cruise clients booked for the fall, and it was just kind of like, okay. And, you know, I had a handful of other families that had previously booked trips, but nobody waiting in the wings. And so I was one of the fortunate travel agents that really, it was just kind of like the pandemic hit and I didn't have people out there traveling. I didn't have to try and get them back. So I was bored. And so I was crocheting a lot because I heard you say, yeah, I do crochet. I've been crocheting for, I don't know, 20 years. And I had started to buy some hand-dyed yarn just in the couple months before the pandemic. And so I was just starting to get really interested in it. And I'm seeing all this beautiful yarn on Instagram and Facebook. And I'm like, oh, I love it. But I'm wanting something that has these colors in it. And I want something like this. And I want something like that. And I'm not quite seeing it. So because I was bored, one Sunday afternoon, I started watching videos about how to dye yarn. And yeah, that was a rabbit hole that I just fell down so fast. And I have to say, it was really, really, really hard getting all of the things to dye yarn in the beginning of the pandemic, because they're like, what was everybody buying? Like, you remember, everybody's buying masks, like respirator masks. I don't know why, because I never saw anybody walking out in public with respirator masks, but they were nowhere to be found. People were buying gloves and wearing them all over the place and throwing them in the Walmart parking lots and doing all sorts of bad things like that with them. Just like everything. So finding stuff when I first started was really kind of difficult. I think I finally found like one mask and I hoped it fit from Uline, and I had to pay like $50 to have it shipped because they weren't doing in-person pickup. It was just ridiculous. So once I finally had all of this stuff, I was so excited. And I can remember just putting like the first colors into the dye pot and, you know, watching everything and just going, uh-oh, I'm in trouble. I think I had 10 skeins of yarn that I bought, and I immediately went and ordered some more because I knew it was going to take weeks to come in. And yeah, that was just the end of it. I just, within, I want to say the first month, I probably had like 50 skeins of yarn dyed, and my husband comes in, he's like, what are you going to do with all this yarn? I'm like, I guess I'm going to have to sell it, aren't I? He's like, yeah, I think you're going to have to, because I can see that this is going to be a problem. So, so yeah, I have a PowerPoint presentation because I do have a dye studio tour through pictures to do. So I'm going to do a screen share here. And we will get this going. And hopefully it works. Are you guys able to see it? Yeah, because I'm just seeing myself, so I can't tell. Okay, so this is me. This is my new-ish logo. I've been using it for a while, but it's now on my yarn, which I'm very, very happy about. All of my branding is now looking like this, which is pretty cool. And then let me just see, it's not, there we go. Okay, so this is the if you're doing any screenshots of information or anything, this is the screenshot you want to take, because it has, well, it's got my mug in it, whatever, but it has the shop location, it has the shop hours, and it has my social media on there. So in April of this year, I moved out of the house because I was getting to have way too much yarn. I couldn't store it anymore. I couldn't dye things fast enough, so I had to look for a commercial space. So I moved into the commercial space in April, and it does have a small storefront. So I do have all of the yarn on display in the front there. I am only open limited hours, even though I'm here almost all the time, because usually when I'm here, I'm in the back, I'm dyeing, I have my respirator on, I've got gloves on, I've got, you know, things that I'm kind of timing and so I can't be up at the front watching the store at all times. So my mom comes in Tuesdays, Thursdays 1 to 5, and Saturdays 11 to 5. And she kind of just watches the front of the store for me, and can help customers out when I'm busy in the back. So I am available other times by appointment. And it can be like, you know, call me up on the phone and say, are you going to be there like 1 o'clock today? I'll be like, yeah. And then I can just make sure that whatever I'm doing in the back isn't going to be impacted by having a customer in the store. I am on social media. I post a lot on Instagram, and then all of the Instagram posts go to Facebook. So I am on both of those. I also have a TikTok, but I only have a couple videos up there. I probably will be working on that a little bit more over the next few months, since things are going to kind of settle down a little bit. So this is the store. The storefront itself isn't super big, but I have all of my yarn in there. I have probably, best guess, I don't know, I haven't counted, over 1,500 skeins of yarn in stock. I have over 250 colorways. I can't tell you exactly how many I have, because some of them are just, you know, a once run, you know, I use up leftover dyes and put them together in combinations. And once that's sold out, it's done. I have done over 350 colorways so far, but I'm guessing about 250 of them are actually active. I have over 25 different base and weight combinations, and I will talk about that in a little bit here. I do have sock weight minis. I carry 3 different types of spinning fiber, and there's a couple of items that I don't put on the website. Like there is a one of my customers that makes stitch markers, so she's got them in my shop. I've got what I call yarn mops, so those are things that I use in the store or in the dye studio to just do sampling on, or absorb extra turquoise dye, especially for some of my colorways that are super intense. And so I don't have those things on the website. My daughter makes mugs, and she's planning on putting them in the store eventually, but you know, who knows when that's going to happen, because she's in school. So going into the dye studio, I'm going to kind of walk you through the whole process of what basically happens from the very beginning to the very end. So the very beginning is what you're seeing on this picture here. It is the cones of yarn. They're approximately 3 pounds. That's how they come from the mill. They're all labeled inside of the cone, but we add a label on the outside that has our base information and the date that we received them, plus all of the weights of the actual cones, because they're just approximately 3 pounds. They're not exactly. So I like to keep track of exactly how much I have on hand so that I know when I need to reorder. And you can see that is not my writing. That is my mom's lovely writing on there. If you get an order from me, you will not see that printing nice and pretty on there. That is my mom's. So I admire her penmanship. From there, you can see the cones in the background of the photo there on the shelves. From there, they go on to my Crazy Monkey skeiner. I do things probably a little bit differently than a lot of dyers do. I know a lot of dyers buy their yarn pre-skeined. I'm kind of a nerd, and I really don't like how a lot of the skeins come from the mills when they're pre-done, because they're basically done in one big section. And I like to do mine in 3 sections, which my Crazy Monkey skeiner allows me to do because it has 3 sections on the arms. So what I do is I have it broken down into, like I've figured out what the yardage needs to be and how many rotations it needs to go around. And then I break that down into 3. And then I do my figure 8 ties around each of those sections. And I find it helps to get really nice, even dye coverage. So if you've ever seen pictures of somebody's, I notice it mostly on socks. When somebody posts a picture of socks and they've just started from one end of the skein and worked through to the other end of the skein, sometimes that second sock looks a little bit lighter. And that's just because of the way that the mill has put the skeins together. So I also find it makes it a little easier to unwind it when you get it home and you're putting it on your Swift and using your ball winder to make your nice little ball of yarn. It just tends to come off the Swift a lot nicer. So I used to battle that with the because I like right from the very beginning. I was actually doing a lot of this. I want to say the first 1,000 skeins or so that I dyed, I actually did them all on a manual skein winder. So I dealt with winding off from all of the mill skeins. So I know how tangly they can sometimes be. From there, and I should mention my daughter actually is working for me now. And so that is her job now. So she is the one that does all of my skeining for me. From there, they basically get bunched into groups of 4. We put a zip tie on them. If you look near the top of the photo there, you can see there's some blue zip ties, some lighter blue and some orange. So they all have the base information written on them so that we know exactly what they are, because they can look very similar or pretty much identical. And with 27 bases now, there's, it's easy to mix them up if you don't keep them labeled throughout the whole process. So we put them into groups of 4 for the full size skeins, and we do 5 for the mini skeins because that's the batch size that I dye in. And all of my recipes are written using that batch size. So it just makes life a lot easier. Then they're bagged and they're put into these, I guess we'll call them cubbies, which are all labeled. You can see I've got the first 2 rows there are Salisbury sock and Barbary sock. That is because I dye a lot of sock yarn. The sock knitters are the ones that found me first and have been very happily buying sock yarn from day one. So I basically, any new colors that I bring in now, I start them on sock yarn and then carry them to the other bases. So some of the bases, like you can look down at the bottom left of the picture, you can see that's a bunch of different minis, because minis don't take up nearly as much room. So I can share that between multiple different sizes of minis. I have the Salisbury and Barbary sock as minis, and then sometimes I've got like 50-gram minis, and I'll have 40-gram minis. Like, it's like crazy, depending on what people are needing for different projects that I've done for collaborations. Some of the other bases, they kind of share the space just because I don't have as many, as much demand for them. So you'll see some of them along the bottom there. They've got like more than one base on there. So from there, when it's time to dye, I take the yarn over to the first sink here. It might be a little hard, but there is to see, but there is actually two sinks in this picture. If you look a little further into the background, you can kind of see the faucet for the other one. So the yarn is washed in this first sink, and it's put into the steam pans that you can see in that large tower for dyeing. Depending on the colorway and the process needed for the recipe to be dyed, I might add acid at this point, and that's either citric acid or vinegar, depending on the base. The stellina bases that have that shiny thread in them, they need to be dyed with vinegar, because otherwise the citric acid kind of takes the shine out. So they're all prepared, all the water, whatever is added at this point, and then it gets wheeled down to the dye pots from here. And I can dye up to, right now, up to 8 warmers at a time. So this holds everything that I need for one dye run. So it's perfect. I love this thing. But before we get to dyeing, we have to mix up the dyes. So this is my dye mixing station, I guess we'll call it. So if you look on the left side, you'll see there's a whole bunch of little jars. Those are all dyes. I have over 100 different dyes. You can see underneath the table, there's some dye that's pre-mixed. Those are my leftover dyes that I use for my no dye left behinds. So basically what I do is I put that respirator mask on that you can see on the table, and take the recipe and work on like mixing the dyes according to the recipe, weighing out each dye as I mix it up. So sometimes I have to use distilled water for some of them. So I've got some distilled water jugs there that you can see. Other times just regular hot water from the tap is fine. I believe it's probably due to the mineral content in our water here in Edmonton. I find certain dyes just don't work well with our water. So they get the distilled water. And from there, they go to the dye stations. So you can see I've got 8 of them set up here. Basically in each of those pans, I can dye 4 skeins of yarn. So I can dye 32 at a time. I find each batch usually takes a couple of hours to fully exhaust the dye, but it really depends on the colorway. I find speckles generally take the longest, because you'll put the speckle, the dry powder on, and I need to just let it sit in the heat for about an hour per side. So if it's got a background color or anything behind it, it can take probably about 3 hours to fully set. From there, they are washed. They go back to that sink. They get washed. They usually, I would say, probably washed and rinsed at least 4 times just to get the citric acid and any loose dye out. The excess water is removed in something called a spin dryer, which I don't have a picture of here, but it kind of just looks like a metal garbage can. It just removes I would say about 90 to 95% of the water. So the skeins can dry pretty quickly. The tag with the base information is put back onto the skeins. I don't actually dye with those tags on, because the dye kind of discolors the tags a little bit and makes it harder to read. So I find it's just easier to switch to zip ties that I can reuse over and over again for dyeing. So at this point, there's also a tag added that has the colorway name and the base information and everything on it. And so that will travel with the yarn through the rest of the process. I find in the summer, because my warehouse gets really, really hot, I could wash yarn in the morning and it's dry pretty much by 10, 12 hours later. In the summertime or in the wintertime, the rest of the year, probably a day or two, just depending on how warm it is, what the humidity level is, everything like that. So it just depends. But having that spin dryer remove most of the water sure does help. From there, they go on these grid walls that have wheels on the bottom, so I can roll them all over the place in my warehouse. And they basically just get rolled down to the finishing area where they're going to get twisted. They're going to get something we call prettified, and they're going to get their labels on. So this is the twisting station. You can see it's kind of sort of an action shot, but not really. It's really hard to get a picture of skeins or twisting, I mean, in action. But yeah, we just add twist to it till it's really tight, and then fold it in half, and it basically kind of plies back on itself. Like if you've ever twisted fringe for a scarf or anything, it's basically the same action. So you can see the little figure 8 ties are sticking out there. So my daughter will, her other job is to twist these and to prettify them. And she takes all of those ties and just tucks them in nice. And so you get this nice, beautiful, smooth looking skein. From there, I take pictures of them. So I always take a picture of the yarn when it's kind of just loose, and so you can get kind of a feel for some of the different colors that are in it. And then I take pictures of the skeins of yarn as in the batch. So from there, my daughter takes them and puts labels on them, and then they just wait on the racks until the next shop update. So the bases that I have, the sock bases, are definitely the most popular. And I like to do this on the PowerPoint because I find my camera is terrible on my computer and nothing shows the way I want it to. So this way you guys get a much better feel for what the actual yarn looks like. So this is the Salisbury and Barbary sock bases. They are basically identical, other than the Barbary sock uses a slightly softer nylon. And I have the two different bases just because I started this in a pandemic. Supply issues were horrible. So I had to use to get whatever I could get in. So at one point I will drop one of them, I'm sure, but that's not happening right now. So a lot of people will buy the color that they like in one base and then a complementary color in another base, and you can work on them together in the same project, and it's totally okay. The colorway here is Limeberry on Barbary sock. Next is the Amesbury base. If you remember, I was talking about stellina and how we need to use vinegar when we're setting the dye. So this is the base that we have to do this with. It is 84% merino, superwash merino, and 16% gold or silver stellina. I do carry both. It is available in a fingering weight only. And this product is on the fingering, or on the Amesbury fingering gold in the crescendo colorway, which was a contest yarn from earlier this summer, which I will talk about at the end of the presentation. The next base is, oh, it's so soft. It's the Broadmoor base. It is a 17 micron superwash merino, so it is so soft. It's like, oh, it's just so soft and squishy, and I love it. It is available in fingering, sport, and worsted. And I also do have it in a spinning fiber as well. And this colorway is called Beach Day. The Fosbury base is your basic, I just want 100% superwash merino type of base. It is available in lace, fingering, sport, and worsted weight. I do not carry DK. I get that question asked a lot. And so sport weight is pretty darn close. And I'm finding I'm getting a lot of people actually requesting sport weight and are very happy to find out that I carry it. So this is a sample of Fosbury worsted in the coastal coverway. Then the Georgian base is another one of my favorites. It is superwash merino and either 30% or 50% silk. So it's got a really beautiful shine to it. It is available in fingering weight only. And I do also have it in spinning fiber with 50% silk and 50% superwash merino. This is one of my favorite colorways. It was one of my first colorways that I dyed up and I was like, I don't know if I can sell this. And then I was like, no, I can make more. And so I have dyed this colorway a lot. It is called Green Eyed Envy, and it's just because like I love the greens in it. And like I said, when I dyed it, I was like, oh, I have to keep this color, I think. And yeah, no, I talked myself out of it. The next one is Glenbrook base. It is suitable for socks if you are wanting something that doesn't have any man-made fibers in it. So it has superwash merino, yak, and silk. So it is a sock weight only. It is nice and soft. And then this colorway is called Beaten Copper and was another contest colorway. I think that was for the beginning of the year. And then we have the Haythorn base. It is my single ply base. I have it in lace weight, fingering, worsted, and shown here is the super bulky. And this is probably my second most popular colorway here. It's called Meet Me in Lacombe. And it was the colorway that, or the naming contest colorway that I had for the Prairie Fiber Festival in 2021. And it's really pretty. I actually have a bag that was made by Sarah at Sarah's Fiber Arts that uses the colorway in the material for the bag, and I can show that when I'm back on camera. I do have something called the Jubilee base. I don't have a lot of it. I don't find there's a big demand for it. It's 75% merino and 25% nylon. And it is a little bit lighter than my other sock weights, and it is a 4-ply. So I haven't had a lot of requests for it or a lot of interest in it. So I don't know that I'll be continuing it for very long. I do have a 3-ply that matches my other sock bases that has this extra little bit of nylon in it that I will probably be bringing in as sock weight minis for the heels and toes, just to get that a little bit of extra strength in the those areas, those high wear areas. But I do have this one. It is called Dragonfly, and I do have that colorway on a couple of different bases as well. And this is my most popular colorway. So this is a Salisbury base. It is 80% superwash merino and 20% nylon. And I do have it in the sock base, which I've already talked about, but I do have it in the bulky, which is shown here, and super bulky. So it does have that nylon in it to give it that little bit of extra strength for those projects like hats and cowls and mitts and stuff that you want to have that a little bit of, especially like mitts and stuff, you want to have that little bit of extra strength in there. So this colorway is called Hyper Colored. I don't know how many times I've dyed this. I just dyed a whole bunch more a couple days ago for the Edmonton Fiber Frolics. So, and I'm sure it's probably going to sell out again. It's always does. So there's more coming than what you see on the website. I do have a non-superwash merino. It is called the Tisbury base. I have it in fingering, sport, and worsted. I don't have a ton of it because I don't get a lot of demand for it, but I can also do custom dyes too. The colorway here is probably another one of my favorites. And it's got I have to tell the story for this colorway name. It's called Zip My Legs Honey, which is a really weird name, I know. But when I was naming this yarn, my daughter, she was working at the time as a healthcare aide in a nursing home. And she was telling me about a resident there that came up to her, like one of her first days, and came up to her and she says, honey, come here. And my daughter's like, okay. And she says, honey, come zip my legs, honey. And my daughter's really confused because this lady is just wearing regular pants. There's no zippers on the legs of her pants or anything. And she's, honey, come zip my legs. So my daughter goes and she's like, okay, and pretends to zip up the sides of her legs. And the woman was very happy. She says, oh, thank you, that's better. Wanders off. And so we thought that was a kind of a funny little story. And so I figured I had to name a yarn after it. And this is the one I named it. I do have a Woodbridge base that is the cashmere and merino and nylon. So I do have it with 10% cashmere or 20% cashmere. It is available in a sock weight only. I do have it in a spinning fiber where it's just the 20% cashmere and 80% superwash merino. So that one's really nice and soft to work with. This is another contest colorway. It was from the Prairie Fiber Festival, the one that just happened in September, and the name of it is Papa Wore Flannel. Now, I do have some upcoming events, as you can guess. I'm at the Edmonton Fiber Frolic. I'll be there in person. So I hope to see a lot of people there. I also, 2 weeks after the Edmonton Fiber Frolic, I will have an open house and dye studio tour. So you'll be able to come into the shop, see all of the yarns up in the front, woohoo, and then you'll be able to go into the back, which is the fun, exciting part, and you'll be able to see the entire process from beginning to end. I will have dye pots going, so you'll be able to see how the colors get added to the yarn. I'll try and have a variety going of different styles of dyeing, because I do quite a few different things. So that's November 26th from 11 to 5, our regular open hours at my shop. And then I was just talking, I think she was on, I think she might still be on, just talking to Kim from Ginger Snap this morning, and we decided that we're doing a pop-up in my shop. So she's going to come and bring up all of her yarn and her project bags, and Colin's going to bring all of his stuff, and we're going to do a pop-up in the shop. And if you've been in my shop before, you'll be like, where is Kim going to fit? So I actually have a nice space in the back that we're going to be setting up for them to put all of their stuff in. So they're not going to be tight and restricted to any space. And then we are hoping to have another vendor come in, but I haven't confirmed who that's going to be. So that's going to be January 21st. Again, regular hours, 11 to 5 at the shop. Now, on to the contest. So I mentioned some of those colorways, well, several colorways during the presentation were contest colorways, and you're probably like, what the heck is that? So whenever I do an in-person show, I do a colorway that needs to be named by customers. And so I will put up the contest usually a couple days before the show begins. People can go on and enter these names. So this is the colorway for the Edmonton Fiber Frolic, for the fall frolic. And it definitely needs a name. It's dyed on Barbary sock, and you can go onto the website and click on the Barbary sock fall frolic contest yarn, which will be right at the very top of the page. I can actually go onto my website here in just a minute here and actually show you where to find that. It's in the recently added section on my homepage, or if you're on Instagram, you could follow the links to get to it. Just find the post that has this win a skein, and you'll get to the links and everything. So basically what we do is the week or so after the show, I get my family together. I make them pick the name because I know who submitted each name, and I don't want to have any influence over, whose name gets picked. And so my family goes through all the name submissions. They read them out. If there's a story attached, they read those, and they decide which name they think fits this yarn the best. And then I contact the winner, and they get a skein of this yarn. So that's something that I think people really look forward to. For the in-person show, I also do a win back your purchase contest. It is only for people that attend the show, and that's really easy to enter. I just need contact information. So that one, if you're coming to the show, I will ask you if you want to enter. And so that's my presentation portion. Again, I've got my address and hours on there. If you didn't catch the screenshot earlier, you can grab those now. And I think I will probably go to the website. Just close out of PowerPoint there. Okay, let's move the Zoom meeting so I can't see that anymore. And are you guys seeing my website right now? Holly? Anybody?
Yeah, sorry, I'm here.
Okay, are you able to see my website?
Right now, I'm just seeing you.
You're just seeing me. Okay, let me share my screen. I guess when I move to how about now?
Now I'm seeing your website.
Okay, perfect. So when you go onto the website, like I said, if you want to enter the contest, it's really easy. You should be able to see it right now, but you just click on the contest yarn there. It takes you to the listing. You can read all of the details here. And then just click on enter the contest and you'll see the contest entry. So it's really easy to enter. I won't submit because that would be dumb. I'm not winning the yarn. And one thing I'll point out is this colorway isn't available to purchase yet until the 11th, when my shop update just before the Fiber Frolic goes live. So normally, if you were to look at any other yarn, you'll probably see this ready to ship is something that you can click on. But I also do offer sweater quantity custom orders in batches of 3, 4, or 5 skeins on anything that I have that I regularly carry in the store. So a base and colorway combination that I have in the store. Because as I said, I dye in batches of 5. So if you're looking to get a sweater quantity and say you need 7, well, I'm going to dye up 8 and I'm going to put that extra one in my shop. If you're looking to get a sweater quantity of something that I don't carry in the store, so you look at a colorway and you're like, oh, I really want that on sport weight yarn and I don't carry it in the store, you can talk to me. You can say, you know, is this something you'd consider carrying in the store? I might go, yeah, that looks like it would be a great combination. I'll let you know when it's going to be in the store and you can order it then. You know, I ask how many skeins you're looking to get. If it's something that I don't think I would carry in the store, you can still custom order, but you have to order in quantities of 4 so that it's a full dye pan. So that, because I'm not going to carry the extra skeins in my store. So yeah, so that's the contest entry there. Just click on that. All right, so I don't know if there's anything else that I should be sharing right now for my website, Holly.
Can you show us more? Like, I see the win a skein, but can you show us the other pictures of it? Because this yarn is just so gorgeous.
So that's the close-up of the
Yeah.
yarn there. And then that's a little further away. That's one batch of it. I have lots of it. It'll be on a number of different bases, which you'll see on the 11th. And then this is the picture that I was describing, where I just kind of take a picture of the yarn where it's not twisted up. So you can kind of see how all the different colors in there are.
It is so pretty.
It is. Holly has seen them all. Holly got to have a sneak preview this summer because these have been dyed up for a little while. So
yeah. And I got to photograph it and send it out to podcasters. And so
yes.
Yeah. So, and I have to say, this yarn next to the yarn that Jeanette from Small Fish Yarns gave,
Yeah.
she gave green, she calls it pickles, I think. She gave green yarn and purple yarn.
Oh, I think I remember
And
seeing the picture of it.
yeah, those two yarns next to this yarn, like, oh my gosh, I need to make a sweater with that combination.
You know what you're going to be buying?
Yeah, exactly. Like it is so stunning, the combination between the two, because like especially the purple with this yarn,
Yeah.
it's so many shades of purple in one yarn. With this, it's just, oh my gosh, it's amazing. So yeah, there are several, like you reposted the grocery girls are giving away a
Yeah.
bag with this in it.
Yeah.
Northern Knits podcast will be giving away a bag very shortly with this in it. Cozy Up Knits will be giving a bag very shortly with this in it. Chantel with Knititude is going to be giving a bag shortly with this in it. So yeah, everyone just keep an
Yeah.
eye out. There are going to be several bags with
And
this.
somebody
knit.
was lucky enough to win it with the giveaway that was recently closed through the Edmonton Fiber Frolic.
Yeah, I know. And you know what's so crazy too, because I had Kylie I was like, okay, you got to randomly pick. I had all the screenshots of all the stories. And then of course, all of the comments, so many comments. And I was like, okay, Kylie, you don't know anybody here. You're the best person. I want you to just like randomly go through all of these things and pick two handles.
Yeah.
And then one of them was Michelle with Fondle Patterns from yesterday's virtual festival live. And one of
Yeah.
them was Leslie, who works at Statement Junkie. I was like, man, people don't think we're just doing the nepotism thing over here.
And see, that's why when I do my naming contest, I like because I basically at the end of it, I get a spreadsheet that has like the person's name, the name suggestion, and their how to contact them, right? And so because I see all of that, I take the information and I cut off the person that entered it, and I just have the name and if they've written any kind of story that they want to share about why they chose that name. And I just put those two pieces of information on the spreadsheet, and everything else is hidden. I print it off and I give it to my family because I don't want to pick. I don't want to be like, oh, I know who submitted that.
Yep, I was not even in the room. Like I gave it to Kylie. Kylie was in the kitchen and I went to like get my girls ready for bed. And I came back and Kylie had written down the two handles. And I was like, oh my God, are you serious right now?
Oh, that's how it happens, right?
Yep.
It's just like
So,
sometimes like I think there's been at least once where my family has picked the name and it's like, oh, well, I know who that person is. Off the top of my head, I know exactly who the winner is. So without having to look and see, right? So
yeah. But anyways, all of that to say, this is, I mean, every single one of your naming contest yarns has been amazing, but I'm really, really in love with this one in particular right now. So
I'm going to share something. The colors here, right? There was an inspiration yarn behind this. So I had a day, I think it was a Friday or a Saturday in the summer where I was like, I wasn't planning on dyeing yarn today, but I feel like dyeing yarn today. And so I didn't want to mess around with, mixing a bunch of colors. And I just kind of just wanted a creative day. And so I just grabbed a whole bunch of leftover dyes and was like, I'm just putting this on yarn. And my daughter wanted to help me. So she kind of did a little bit of it too. And so all of those colors have been posted except for the inspiration behind this one, because I had two colors that I came out and I was like, oh, okay, I think I'm going to have to try and replicate these for contest yarns. And so the Prairie Fiber Festival one called Papa Wears Flannel or Wore Flannel, that was one of the inspirations that ended up becoming a contest yarn. And that one was super popular at the Prairie Fiber Festival in September. And then this one, I actually had these dyes left over from another colorway. And I'm going to just find that colorway called Color Bomb Me.
mm-hmm.
And so if you look, you can kind of see it's dyed a little bit differently, but those are the same colors. And so
Mhm.
I was like, because when I took these colors and I tried putting it on fiber, I ended up with gray. And I kind of have like I spun, I could, well, because I spun it for myself. And it's kind of just mostly gray with a little bit of color poking through. And I can pull the yarn here that I made. So I was like, okay, I'm going to take a chance because I have a feeling, I don't know, it's just a gut feeling that when I pour this onto the yarn, that pretty things are going to happen, right? Because when I put it on the yarn, it comes out really nice. So I just took the risk. I'm quite happy. So I'll go back to the contest yarn. See if we just do frolic. So you can compare the two. Or actually, I know, we'll just go back home. And, oh, where are we? My website's being a little funny.
Mm.
It's being a little slow, probably because I'm on Zoom.
Yeah.
So you look at
Yeah.
the skein and you can see where those colors are in that other colorway, right? But it looks different. Yeah.
Yes.
So anyways, I will stop sharing my screen here and I'll show you the one that I spun when I dyed it up in fiber. And I'm just gonna, I have two screens here, so that's why I keep looking off to the side. So I'm just gonna move this so that when I look at my screen, I'm actually looking at the camera. So this is the skein. See, my colors don't show very nicely in here. But it's like, you can kind of see it's just mostly gray with little pops of color in it. So when I dyed up the fiber, I was like, I don't know how this is, you know, why this is so gray, but the colors just kind of blended that way, right? So it was a big risk. I kind of take some risks when I dye. Most of the time they work out, but yeah, I like doing that. So I like kind of going, I'm either gonna end up with like a total muddy mess and it's just gonna be like, I'm just over dyeing this black for something for myself, or it's gonna be something really pretty. And most of the time it turns out really pretty. So pretty happy with that. Is there any
Awesome.
questions that have come up here? I have the
Yes.
chat open on my other screen.
Yeah, I just copied and pasted one into our Zoom chat there.
Okay, let me just see here.
Yeah.
So how do I name my yarn bases? So when I was dyeing at home, I live in Sherwood Park. The shop is in Edmonton, about 10 minutes away from my house. But I've lived in Sherwood Park pretty much all of my life, other than, you know, when I was in my late teens, early 20s, and I went to Olds College. I lived down there for 2 years and then lived in Edmonton for a couple of years until we bought our first house in Sherwood Park. So I started out with street names in the subdivision that I live in, but it's a very small subdivision, so I ran out of street names really quickly. And so then I started picking names from significant areas in Sherwood Park that you know, meant something to me and my family. So for example, the Glenbrook base is the first street, like my parents' first house that they had in Sherwood Park, where I lived as a baby. All of the ties, you don't see it as a base, but all of the ties, I use a lace weight yarn that I call Glamorgan. That's the house that I grew up in, that I remember for the most part. Let's see, Woodbridge is a school. It's a subdivision in Sherwood Park. It's a school that my kids went to. So yeah, there's just it all ties into areas that have been important to me or part of growing up where I grew up. So yeah, that's where I get the names. Figuring out how to do that was hard. Like, I'm like, how am I going to call these? Because I was like, I have like 2 sock bases. Like, I can't just go, oh, this is a sock yarn. Like, I'm like, I have to give it a different name. And so what am I going to actually name it? You know, so I just settled on one. Fosbury is the street I live on. So yeah. Was there any other questions?
No, Michelle's just saying she's excited to use your yarn in a project.
Is that the contest yarn that she's referring to? I'm
Yeah,
thinking maybe from her comment. Yeah. Yeah, I know. I have, again, it's not going to show very nicely, but I was in Italy earlier, well, last month, I guess, all of last month. And as part of my project, I was crocheting a shawl. Oh yeah, the colors are terrible. This is why I don't show yarn on my Zoom calls, because everything just shows up dark. I do that. So this is a lace weight that'll be available on the 11th. And I'm crocheting in the contest colorway. But yeah, it looks really dark and blah.
it looks
It's
so
much,
gorgeous, even in the light. It's
yeah,
so
it's
pretty.
much prettier in person. So I'll bring this little sample to the Edmonton Fiber Frolic, because I am sure this is not going to be a full shawl by the end of the week, because I don't work
Well,
that
that's why it's
fast.
crocheting in lace weight.
Yeah, well, I kind of wanted to have something, just, I don't know. I was debating, because I'm like, I want to bring a project, but if I happen to have a lot of time that I'm sitting, like if our flights were delayed or something, I was like, I'm going to just be, if I bring like a sock weight, it's going to take me like no time at all to finish this shawl. So I'm like, okay, if I want to just bring one project, because I mean, space in the suitcase was an issue. I was like, if I'm just bringing one project, if I bring lace weight, I will not run out of something to do. So that's why I decided to do it in lace weight. And I'm not scared of
Yeah.
crocheting in lace weight. So, but yeah, it takes forever. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it's still pretty though. Are you going to have any in a silk blend?
I don't. No, no, I don't for this one. I could bring it in. I have a feeling it's going to sell pretty well. So I've got my coffee with my, if Leanna's still on here, with my
Ooh,
mug from Crafty Bones.
nice.
I'll
Yeah,
have a
I don't know if
coffee.
she is. I think she was watching because Crochet Fashion Week went live on Instagram, and I think she popped over there because she's designing there. So
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, I'm just imagining those colors on the Georgian base and thinking how gorgeous.
Yeah. Well, they
that would
are
be.
on the Color Bomb Me colorway, so you can check it out on there, because they look really nice on the Georgian base.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Okay, so you had it on the screen, but okay, yeah, Ilana's saying the shawl looks very beautiful. It does look very beautiful.
Thank you. It's my own pattern, and I haven't completely, like, one day I'll release it, but I could probably pull it up on, it's not in my yarn, but I could pull it up on my phone here. I'm not even sure which yarn this is from. It might be from Hobby. Let me just see. That is what the pattern will look like when it's done.
That's gorgeous. You made that up?
Yeah. And I have it written. I just don't have great pictures to go along with it. I've had people test it, and like, I mean, I did this before the pandemic, and so I kind of left it for probably a year and a half before I did it again, and kind of tested it on myself too. Like, do I know what I'm talking about? Because I completely forgot all of the directions, right? So when I was doing this one, I was like, okay, I'm basically doing this from scratch again. So yeah, I kind of almost tested it on myself again too, but yeah, I should maybe get you to test it too after the frolic is done. Get some better
Yeah.
pictures, actually publish it.
Yeah, man. Maybe get some pictures. Let's make this happen.
Okay. Come on over. You're only 5 minutes away.
I know. That's a beautiful thing about being so close.
Yeah, we should have
Okay,
actually just
so-
done this together here.
No. Okay, so we were on, let me just post in the chat here. So we were on
Yeah.
Numana Yarns
.com.
.com.
Yeah.
Okay. And on Instagram, you are
Numana Yarns.
just at Numana Yarns.
Yep.
And
Same for Facebook, same for TikTok. Same for
Perfect.
probably Pinterest, but I think everything just auto posts to Pinterest. I haven't checked it in a while.
okay. Perfect. Okay.
Yeah, I made it really
And
simple because nobody else has my name. So the name
Okay.
itself comes from my kids' nicknames. So I have a little story about that because we have like 6 more minutes or something. So a few years ago now, so my husband's he's got his own home business, and he's a financial planner, and he had registered the name Legacy Financial and was operating under that name, but never really advertised under that name. All of his clients are basically word of mouth, right? So all of a sudden we get this cease and desist letter from a credit union down in Calgary that says they're using that name. And basically what happened is they had started using, they were called Legacy Savings, and they had started using the term Legacy Financial for part of their operations. And when they went to register the name, they found out that it was already registered in Alberta and they couldn't actually use it. So they sent us a cease and desist letter saying, you have to stop using this, blah, blah, blah. Well, a credit union has bigger pockets than we have. So we were like, well, we don't really actually use this name, like it's on his business cards and website and stuff, but it's not like he has billboards or advertisements out there with the name. His clients just think of him as him, right? They don't think of him as his business name. And so we decided to just sell the name to them basically for the cost of any replacement materials that we had to get. And like he'd done some trade shows and stuff. So he had one of those big, you see them at the back of the booth sometimes where it's like a big sign, right? So that, that thing cost a couple $1,000s or whatever. So, he sold it all to them for the cost of replacement of all that stuff. And the thing is like, when we were like, okay, well, we got to find a new name for this business, right? And we're like, well, we don't want this to happen again. So we ended up looking through baby names and all sorts of things to try and find a name that had some meaning behind it. And he eventually settled on Asika Financial, because Asika is an old baby name that means beholder of wealth, which for his business works really well. So knowing all of this, having this in my history, my personal history, I'm like, I don't want to be naming my company something that somebody else might come along and try and take and, whatever. So I decided to take my kids' nicknames, mash them together, and that's how I came up with the name. So my oldest one is Brianna. My youngest one is Nicole, and they're about 3 years apart. And when Nicole was learning how to talk, she could not pronounce her sister's name. So she called her Mana. And that name has stuck. Mana is now 21 years old and we still call her Mana. And then for whatever reason, I don't even know, how this kind of happens with your kids. You come up with a nickname and it just sticks. Like we started calling Nikki, we call her New or Nunu, and just NU, right? And we still call her that. Like if she works in the store, if you come in, you might hear me call her, hey, New. Whatever. So we just took the two names and just mashed them together. And that's how the name came about. My kids hated it at first. They were like, no, it should be called Mana New, because that's how, our birth order. I'm like, Mana New sounds terrible. Numana sounds so much better. And the funny thing is, with these names that we picked, we didn't know it at the time for either one of those, but Asika is actually the name of an old fortress along Hadrian's Wall. If you know anything about Roman history, he was like an emperor or whatever. And he, when Rome was expanding all over the place. And so he built this wall and this fortress in England. And that's there's still remnants of it, of, you know, that you can go and visit today. And my husband's a huge history buff, and, you know, he as soon as he found out, and he was like, oh, this is so exciting, right? And for me, I found out it's actually a small little municipality in Italy, which we were just in. So it's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. I love
Yeah.
it. So you thought you were making up a name, and it turns out it's not
Yeah.
made up at all.
Yeah, it's not made up at all, but nobody else uses it, right? So yeah. So
That's awesome. I actually referred to your Italy trip in one of the conversations during the virtual festival last week. Oh, with Janelle from Spruce and Linen.
okay.
Because I kept referring to what she does as tapestry weaving. And she was like, I technically don't refer to what I do as tapestry weaving. I call it frame loom weaving. She was like, because everybody who actually is a tapestry weaver would be like, that's not tapestry weaving. And then I was like, well, you know what? I guess I kind of understand that, because I was over at Tammy's and she showed me this awesome video from Turkey, and yeah.
Yeah. So if anybody's confused, the trip started in Italy, then we got on a cruise ship and went around the Eastern Mediterranean and ended up in Turkey. We bought one of those Turkish rugs, and it actually just arrived on Friday. So I'm going to be taking some pictures, and I'll be posting the video showing how it's made. It is so cool. And I love this rug so much. I was just staring at it the other night, like, oh, it is so pretty. And you just get lost in the intricacy of the pattern. It's just so cool.
Are
So
you
I
ever
will,
gonna walk on it?
I will share, like, when I get, I need to have like a good daytime picture of it, because it's like every time I'm there, it's nighttime. So I'm not sure when that will happen, because it's like dark practically already.
I know.
So,
Are you ever gonna walk on it?
oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, it's on the floor.
Is it all silk, or is the silk just part of it, and did they use wool?
So the warp is cotton,
Okay.
and then the weft is, or I guess you would call it, the weft is 100% silk, and it is so
Okay.
soft. And depending on the direction you're looking at it, because of the way that the silk is and the way that the knots are made, when you look at it at one angle, you're seeing the like the ends of the fiber kind of facing you, and so it looks darker. Whereas if you're looking at it the other way, the ends are facing the other way, and so it's lighter. It's really cool. And it is so
Right.
soft. You want to come see it? Okay, well, we'll have to have coffee sometime.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll be like, Tammy, I'm inviting myself over.
Yeah. And I'll be like, hubby, do you have anybody over right now? Do you have any appointments right now? Because Holly and I are coming over.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay, well, I guess, okay, one last question, and then
Yeah.
we can go ahead and sign off. How easy is it for folks who are watching either now live or catching it after the fact? Because we've had a lot of people doing that,
Yeah.
to order and pick up at the Fiber Frolic.
Super easy.
Okay.
You can order, you can select local pickup, and then just send me a message, and you can just pick it up at the show. I'll have it all ready. I will be packing up on Thursday. My store will be closed on Thursday through to next Tuesday. We'll reopen on Tuesday because I got to set up all the racks and everything. Yeah, because we're setting up Friday and we need to be in there, like we want to try and be there right at noon. I'm like, I think I'm gonna have to actually pack up on Thursday during the day instead of in the evening, because otherwise it gets pretty late, right? So yeah. So put in
Okay.
your order before, say, Thursday at noon, and let me know it's for local pickup. Or
Yeah,
even if you place
awesome.
the order on Friday, I can probably pull it on Saturday morning.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Okay. Well, thank you so much for
Yeah,
joining us, Tammy. It's been really
it was
fun.
fun. And yeah,
Okay.
make sure you come to the open house if you want to see everything going on in, I guess, just under 3 weeks on the 26th.
Yeah, and I will vouch for that. I've been back in the back a bit. I've died back there. And dyed, DYED, not died.
I know I was just thinking about that earlier today. Like, I bet you look through some of my text messages and it's just like, she's so dramatic. I'm going to die this afternoon. I'm going to die tomorrow. What did you do yesterday? I died. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways. Okay. Well, yes. Okay. Who is this? We all want to come to see the carpet. Yes.
Maybe I'll have to bring it in. Oh, maybe I'll have to bring it in for the open house. Wouldn't that be cool? I have to talk to my husband about that. I don't know where I'd put it. I guess I can hang it on some grid walls in the back.
Yeah.
Idea. I'm going to talk to
Yeah.
him about that because, yeah, that would be fun. And then I
Definitely
can
a
just play the
conversation
video on
piece.
loop or something. It's really
Mhm.
interesting how they're made. Like, I was like
Yeah.
a kid in a candy shop in that store. And I was just really happy that my husband found a rug that he saw it the second we pulled up to the store. He's like, oh, I love that. And I'm like,
No doubt.
yeah. So,
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Tammy. Thank you all of
Yeah.
you who've been joining us this afternoon. This has been so much fun. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
bye.